now it's, yeah, now they're good.
Here, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to open up the January 12th, 2023 meeting for the Mashpee Conservation Commission. We are having this meeting at the Wacoya Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, and is also being broadcast live on local cable channel 18. Before we start the meeting, would you please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we begin tonight's meeting, it's been close to, actually a little bit over a month since I've sat here and opened up a Conservation Commission meeting. And our town of Mashpee has really endured an incredible amount of loss in that past month. Dr. Brian Howes, who has worked with our town for years and years and years, has suddenly left us. William Sherman, the husband of Select Board member Carol Sherman, has suddenly left us. And also Bill McKay, who I never met personally, but I know he worked for decades and decades and decades as an unbelievable environmentalist for this town, instrumental for establishing the woodlands and much of our conservation lands. So I'd ask you all to take a moment of silence. Thank you. I will start with public comment. If there is anyone here in the audience or online that would like to comment for any issues that are not related to the agenda items that we have listed for tonight's meeting, this would be a wonderful time to come up, say hello, give us your name and your address, and make your comments. Do we have anyone?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Lombardi Surf Drive. I'm not sure what's on the agenda, but
Good evening.
my comments are based on the select board meeting that we had on Monday. And I just left there feeling very discouraged. I want to just lay out two issues related. If we care about our water and our land. Oops.
Yeah.
Hello, now can you hear me? Okay. This is based on some of the agenda items from the select board. If we care about our water and our land, we have to be willing to change our behavior. And what was disturbing to me about Monday night was that there were a number of people who came who were boaters, who said they love Santuit Pond, but they are not willing to change their behavior. So in my mind, they love their boats more than they love the pond. And that's one way that we could change our behavior in order to care about our waters. The other issue, I think, is, and it was brought up as well on Monday by somebody in public comment, we need a moratorium on new construction. No more Title V septics. We need to focus only on affordable housing. We don't need any more single-family homes. We've got to give ourselves, the land and the waters, a break. And those are my issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on something that might not be on our agenda? guess not. We don't have anyone online, Drew, that's,
No.
okay. Okay, and I'll move to the pre- and post-hearing agenda items. Drew, I'll turn over which ones you would like to do before I open up hearings.
We can do in order is fine. So the first item up for the pre-post hearing agenda for Thursday, January 12th, 2023 is the submission of a request to become a full-time commissioner from associate status from Aaron Copeland. So the commission can take Aaron has submitted letters to both you, Paul, the chairman, and to the Board of Selectmen with this request. And the next step is for the commission to take a vote of endorsement for Aaron to become a full-time commissioner.
Sure. Okay, thank you. I guess the first thing I'll do is, hello, Aaron. I would ask, is there anything you would like to say in addition to the letters that you submitted?
Gosh, I hadn't prepared any comments, but I just would like to say I spent the last year trying to absorb as much as I can, and I've really enjoyed going on site visits, and I plan to be here for every meeting going forward.
Great. Well, thank you. Okay, then I would entertain a motion if there is a motion.
I'll make a motion to endorse Aaron to become a full-time commissioner.
Thank you.
Second that motion?
Thank you, Steve. Before I take a vote, is there any further discussion amongst the commissioners on the motion we have on the table?
I think she's wicked cool.
Well, there you go.
Me too.
I press.
Okay, all set then? All right, I'll do a roll call vote. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Unanimous.
Congratulations, Aaron.
Congratulations, yes.
Okay, next item.
So next item up is the approval of the meeting minutes from October 13th, 2022. And we do have a quorum present tonight to vote on those meeting minutes. That would be Paul Colombo, Alex Zolo, and Charles Dalton.
Okay. I've looked through those minutes, and I see that there is nothing that's out of order in them. So I'll accept a motion if somebody would like to make that, either Alex or Charlie.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Alex. Is there a second?
Charlie.
I'll second.
Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie?
Any discussion on the minutes as they are presented? Seeing none. Alex, your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. And I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
I don't know if we want to probably move on to the regular hearing agenda.
Let's get this out of my way. Okay, now calling the 6 o'clock hearing for Janie I. and Lawrence G. Ginsberg, 191 Timber Lane Drive. This is for a proposed fence. It's a request for determination of applicability, and the representative is the property owners. Good evening. If you could just tell us a little bit about the fence that you would like to install on your property and any details you could share with the commission?
Sure. I think we tried to comply with what we understood were the conservation requirements. We live right on the pond. And we just want to enclose an area for our dogs. That's it.
Okay. Okay. I'll open it up to the commissioners if you have any concerns or questions about the project as it's been presented or with the paperwork that we have for the IDA.
Mr. Chairman, one of the questions I have, there were no dimensions on this sketch plan, so how far out from the house does the fence go, and how close to the inland bank or the top of the bank is it going?
I'd say it's about 30 feet long.
It's probably about 15 feet deep from our house out. Our property is on a kind of a
Yes,
cliff
sort of a hill going
It's
down, yeah.
probably about 8 to 10 feet back from the edge of the cliff. Where
We,
the-
what we understood is that it had to be 50 feet from the water line, 25 feet from the water. Okay.
It's not-
Yeah.
There's
What
no,
I-
yeah, there's
the
no real,
first 50 feet are the UK.
yeah,
I
it's,
think
it's not, if it's outside 50 feet, it's generally this category of permit that you've applied for.
Okay.
Fences
Just
fences
the
are
first
usually,
50 feet is
Right, right,
the-
okay.
yeah.
I just didn't know how far out, because there were no dimensions in the sketch, so.
Right, right.
So, you've been there, Drew?
Yeah, yeah. It's, I know they don't have like a professional plan prepared for it, but we just wanted to make sure that no trees were, the fence was gonna be installed so that trees weren't gonna be taken out from the installation. And then we do have, if it's a perimeter fence, right, it's gonna be closed in, an enclosed fence.
Correct,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
That you leave some space underneath, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches for wildlife passage.
Right.
Yes,
Not enough, obviously, to let a dog out if it's a small dog, but at least to have that kind of allowance in some areas of the fence, and that's really the only stipulation that we have when it comes to perimeter fences, so.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns from commissioners? So if I could just clarify then, you said 15 feet out, but I'm looking at the drawing and one side is obviously much longer than the other. The fence is attached to the house, I'm assuming?
Correct. Well, it's going to go up we have kind of, on one side, it'll come right to the edge of the house. On the other side, we have like terraced gardens that they're just going
Okay.
to attach it to up on that side, just to protect the dogs from going out on that side.
Okay. Okay. And in the paperwork, it says that the type of fence has yet to be determined. Have you spent any other time looking at what possibilities or,
Yeah, we think we've settled on chain link.
a black cyclone, yeah, chain link fence, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? No, we're good? I'll go to the public that's here in the audience if they have any questions on this particular proposal. Chain link fence? No? Drew, any comments that you would like to make?
Just to show the commissioner some images of the site, so, image over here on the left side is just a view of the house from the main road, from Timberlane Drive, and then you can see back here, this area of slope where you can see this kind of mossy lawn, that's actually not inland bank, it actually drops off down here, you can kind of see this line. That's where the actual top of inland bank is. So the fence is basically going kind of at the halfway point through this buffer zone, where you see some of these scattered large trees. That's the area that they had indicated the fence is going. So so it's not on the inland bank, it's within the buffer zone to the bank, and no trees are being removed. And building commissioner comments on this is that fences that are less than 7 feet in height don't require a building permit, but if it exceeds 7 feet in height, it has to get a building permit. So just as
Less than.
a FYI, that's all.
They
We
don't
were
require
planning-
what?
We were planning on a
If it's a
6-foot.
fence that's
Ri-
over 7
right.
feet in height, it triggers a building permit requirement.
Right.
But,
We were planning on a 6-foot fence.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. So you won't have to apply for a building permit. And Board of Health, this is just standard comments for any property that involves a particular project where excavation is maybe involved, even as limited as fencing. Note the location of septic system and restrict equipment or vehicle traffic over the non-loading bearing H10 components. Access to septic components must be maintained. So that's not going to be an issue for the fence installation, but they provide that comment on every project. So, No other comments?
So I just had one quick question, because I don't seem to have the full packet. What's the purpose of the fence?
To keep our dogs from running around the neighborhood.
So, yeah, so they have an area to run around and play. We've got a long deck up above that was stairs, so it'll just let them have
Oh, what kind of dogs do you have?
2 mutts.
One big, one Lula.
I'm
They're pretty
just-
big.
I'm just nosy. I don't have any purview on dogs. I just,
No,
I
that's
just happen to
fine,
like
yeah.
them. Okay,
They're
thank
both
They're
months,
cute.
yeah. Very cute,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, then. Again, this is an RDA, so I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for a negative determination for 191 Timberlane Drive.
Thank you, Alex.
Second that motion?
Thanks, Steve. Motion made and seconded on the table, negative determination. Any further discussion by commissioners? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, motion carries.
What about
Thank you.
You skipped the new girl.
Oh, I'm sorry, does it have to be approved?
Actually, you have to be.
I know, I was gonna
that's
say, but it-
selected.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have a quorum, so
Okay.
It's
No?
good to
Soon
know.
Yeah?
Good to know.
too bad, we had a selectman here, but they left.
That's right.
That should be a majority of the board anyway.
You.
Okay, so
Thank
motion
you.
carries.
Well,
Thank you
happy
very much.
fencing.
Thank you
Okay,
very
thanks.
much.
Thank you.
Now calling the 6:03 hearing for Michael J. Glass, 41 Waterline Drive South. This is for a proposed addition to an existing deck. The representative is the homeowner. This is an RDA. Good evening.
Good evening.
If you would like to present a little bit of information about the project that we have before us.
Sure, thank you. So the request is to put on a small addition, 14 feet by 6 foot, on the left side of the house facing the water, and adding another 16 inches by 13 feet to the existing deck. So essentially, it would allow passage to this new section of deck. The deck itself would be positioned over the existing gravel area that's there, and then it would expand over that by cantilevering over into the, over the vegetation. Well, I shouldn't say the vegetation, it's the cleared area before the vegetation. So the vegetation starts 6 feet from our house, and some of it is 7 or 8 feet from the house in that area. So it wouldn't actually be over any growth at this time, except for moss. There is some moss there, so.
Okay. Let me open this up to commissioners that have questions, either of the presentation or materials that we have before us.
Drew, do you have photographs? So?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's showing it, if you look at where the deck is now and the stairs, it's on the other side of the stairs. I actually have a photo from the other side if you want me to pass it around.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
Does everyone want one?
Sure. I won't keep it long. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So did you tell us why, it's such an odd configuration when I first saw this, did you tell us why you're requesting that particular size?
That size, just, I mean, I'd love it to be bigger, but I was just trying to stay, within the existing cleared area, and I thought that would be more acceptable. It's a very small deck area that we currently have.
Yeah.
This would just add a little more seating area, but
It would then come out under the windows there.
it would come out under the windows,
It would
correct?
come out 13 inches this way and then over?
No, so here, it would come out 6 feet out and would go over, the length of this area here is 13 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, give or
13.
take.
Okay.
Actually, it's 14 feet, I apologize.
I was looking at this little sliver and trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, so this sliver here on this side it's 16 inches. It would, again, cantilever just over the, the gravel area, but the idea is so that we can actually access that other area, because otherwise it would be like a little sliver between the two, so it would be hard to.
You'd have to go single file?
It would be like sneaking by, so it would be dysfunctional, so
Okay.
that's the main reason. It's not a big area, obviously it would be great if we, were further back and could do a larger area, but we thought that this would be more acceptable just because of the circumstances.
That makes better sense. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
looking at the plan, I just wonder if there's a discrepancy, because it mentions a deck expansion be cantilevered into the, out, but then I'm seeing, looks like 3 new posts being put in to the ground.
Well, there would have to be posts to support, oh, you mean on the existing deck?
Well, no, and for the new 6-foot by 14-foot addition. So
Right,
right now,
there-
if you look at your photograph, it's clean with a wall. But then the plan, this detailed plan, shows 3 new posts here.
Yeah, just to, can everyone see this okay?
Yep.
So, oh, you have it, of course. So the area that we're looking at that has no deck is the area where we would expand it. So there has to be posts there to support the new deck area. So that area that's 14 feet by 6 feet out.
Can I just a brief interruption? Someone's got something going over the phone mic.
I'm sorry?
Somebody who's calling in to listen to the
Oh,
meeting
okay,
has
sure.
some beeping noise in the background, so just let me make a brief announcement.
Yep.
Whoever that beeping sound is coming from, if you can just mute your phone, because we can hear it, it's interfering with the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, that sound.
Yeah, that sound.
Messing
Up on the board where it shows 14 feet, and then it goes out 6 feet and says deck posts, on the left side of the drawing, that's all new. The existing deck is the area that says deck. So that's the existing deck. The darker brown area would all be added on. That's the new part of the decking.
Right. So, just my question is, why isn't this a notice of intent if it's going to be 3 new footings placed in the ground and it's an existing structure in the 50-foot buffer?
So it is, within the 50-foot buffer, but you can see from the original plan, that snapshot where you can see the close-up detail, the deck addition detail section of the plan. You can see the work limit there. That's the previously established work limit. In the order of conditions for when the house was constructed, no structure can go beyond that work limit.
Okay.
So it wasn't a 50-foot setback, that's the established work limit from the construction of the home.
When was that?
Early 90s, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 99, I
Yeah.
think.
Was there mitigation plantings at that time?
No, because the house, I think it was, for whatever reason, I don't know the details, that's what the work limit established was and approved by the commission at that time.
But they didn't have any mitigation to compensate for
No.
work in the 50-foot?
No. So I don't have any rationale for that. But the reason I didn't have this come in as a notice, and it doesn't mean that you can't require one, is because I felt it was relatively small in scope and over an entirely disturbed area. And they are offering up mitigation, which you can condition if you were to issue a negative determination, but that's the reason why I didn't have it
Okay.
come as a
Yeah,
notice.
because I'm saying, this is 3 new footings going in there and
Right.
new
But they're not-
structure.
but they are short of the work limit, and that's beyond that work limit. In the previous order conditions, this is to remain the naturally vegetated buffer strip on the lot, so.
Because, all right. The other question, is that going to be open below the deck?
It would be open, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
Drew, I didn't get out to this one, but is the area that's supposed to be naturally vegetated, like, healthy and naturally vegetated?
It is. The only issue, and this is something that we can work out with the property owners, is that the pruning that's been done, they have, another thing in the permit history that's just not crystal clear, they have a Vista pruning permit on file, it's recorded, it's illegal. Order of conditions, we can't locate the plan anywhere, not in the registry of deeds, not in our files, not in our scan files, it's just, there is no plan associated with it, or we can't find it. And I did make this known to the homeowners, they don't have any plan of record for the Vista pruning, but they have a Vista pruning permit. So Vista pruning from this time out, whenever the time of year restriction kicks in, they will have to have, my recommendation is that they have a plan, which is mostly made here by Cape and Islands, have a Vista corridor added to that plan in accordance with the current regulations, which is 25% of your overall frontage along the wetland. You can place that corridor wherever you wish, but you have to have it shown on a survey plan, which you have here. The survey plan is just a matter of adding 2 lines to scale showing a corridor coming out, and that's where you can prune. You're not allowed to prune from one side of the property to the other like is currently being done.
Okay.
And in the absence of a plan, this is the best solution that I can come up with, because if we were to find a plan, it would show a corridor like I described, but we can't find it for whatever reason.
Okay.
So if this goes through this evening, and that would be a condition of the approval,
Correct.
then would they have to come back once they have a Vista plan?
They could, it would be your discretion if you want to have them come back to show the plan, or we can handle it in-house.
Or they could just send it to you, and if
Right.
you
Yeah.
thought it was cool, then they'd
Yeah.
be cool about it.
Yep.
Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
That's the way.
So just to, it would be, go back to Cape and Islands and have them, okay,
Yeah,
create a
they're
plan.
very familiar with Vista pruning
Okay.
and what it takes to add that, very minor details added
It
to
should
the
be a
existing plan.
minor.
You've had all the
Yep.
delineations and surveying done, so it would really just be a matter of putting in to scale these 2 lines to define the Vista corridor that reflects 25% of your frontage. And wherever you want that corridor to be, out from this deck or from wherever you want it, is
Okay.
up to you. You would work that out with Cape and Islands.
Okay,
And then that would be your Vista corridor from that point forward. Everything outside of that
Would stay
defined
the
corridor
same.
would have to stay to grow
Okay.
naturally. Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do
Yes.
have an additional question. So just looking at this, the addition is right on top of the limit of work. So trying to construct that, you're going to need ladders and staging and so forth to build that addition.
You know,
So-
interestingly, so I asked the same question because a friend of mine is a builder and he would do the project for us. And he said it's pretty non-invasive because they come in, and I forget what it's called, but it's a machine that just drills a core. And now the footing is done, so there's literally no disturbance of anything. And then everything gets built back toward the house. So there's really no, trampling of vegetation or anything like that.
I tend to disagree with that because you need to place the windows on the outside and the siding, so you need ladders and trim and so forth
Oh, on
on
the
the
gravel
outside.
part you would. to
Right,
put
so you're
that-
going to be beyond the limit of work, because if this addition is on top of the limit of work, so your ladders and so forth are going to be on the water side of the limit of work.
Oh, I thought you meant on the vegetation. They'll be on the gravel, yes, yes.
Well, behind the limit of work is all vegetation.
I'm sorry?
Behind the limit of work is all vegetation. So if the addition is over the limit of work, any ladders and people walking are going to be in the vegetation.
It's just a deck, though, so they're not gonna have like windows and stuff.
Well, there's an addition. It says an addition, right? Deck addition and so forth.
The deck,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah, it's just a
Right.
deck. It's not,
There's
it's
no
not,
windows, there's
yeah.
no siding or.
Right, so, but you still have to apply trim, railings. You're not going to be able to work from the deck down. You have to be on the outside of
Right.
it, too.
Did you say
Right.
that it was cantilevered?
It was cantilevered, so
Does that make you feel any better, Steve?
yeah, there's not,
No, well, the answer to the question on the footings, I'm just thinking that if the edge of the deck is over the limit of work, if you're going to be placing the trim boards, railings, so forth, anything on the outside, you're going to be into the limit of work. That's what was my concern. I don't know how they're gonna, without walking around, you know?
I mean, where the area is that the work would be done is actually just dirt and moss. It's not actually brush at that point. So if you look at the picture there, the area that would cantilever over goes out 8 feet actually. So there is about 2 feet, and the deck would only go 6 feet. So if they had to stand there, they'd be standing on moss and dirt. So there wouldn't be actual, brush that they would stand on at that point. You can kind of see it there, that picture up on the screen, even though it's the other side, right? Thank you.
Yeah, I've been out to the property before. Any sort of foot trampling and traffic would be really minimal at best.
Okay.
I think the area would more than recover from that. And they are proposing mitigation on the available space over here to kind of beef up this buffer zone as compensation for this encroachment. It's kind of an odd one because I had questioned too, why when the house was first built and reviewed by the commission back in 1999, why it wasn't set back 50 feet, which is today's standard. I don't know if that was the standard back then, so it's a little odd as far as the 50-foot setback. I just went and looked at the order of conditions, and I met with them on site to go over and explain that this is where the work limit is. You can't have anything going out over the work limit. If it's cantilevered, that might be acceptable, but it's the work limit that establishes the beginning of the naturally vegetated buffer strip, not 50 feet.
Right.
I can't explain why. I don't know. I'm just going by what was in the order at the time, so.
Thank you.
For the area where they're proposing the mitigation, is there any reason why there can't be trees going in there?
There could be. I'd have to go back out and take a look, just see how much shade there is there. So if it's anything, it's probably a pretty shady area. I think it is mostly throughout the backyard. It's all kind of shaded out for most of the day. That's why you see all the moss growing.
Yeah.
But it can be visited to see if that's feasible. If it were to be trees, there would definitely have to be a shade-tolerant variety, yeah, to have success there, at least.
Actually, I was going to have a similar question. I was looking at the proposed mitigation area, and I was thinking, in lieu of that 8-inch tree, it looks to me like it's wide open from that point down, but I haven't been on this site, so I can't comment. Do we have a photograph, Drew, that shows that area?
Unfortunately, I don't, no.
Okay. Charlie, do you have any questions?
No?
We're good with our questions? I'll open it up to the public. Anyone in the audience who would like to question the proposal? Hearing none. Drew, do you have any other comments you'd like to add before we?
No, I think I've got all my comments out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, there is Board of Health and building comments. So Board of Health comments, note the location of septic system and restrict equipment and vehicle traffic over non-load-bearing H10 components. Access to septic components must be maintained. Building comments, the project will require relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals under Chapter 174-33, setback to wetlands, so you're gonna have to go to the zoning board.
Okay.
One of the things that I would, if the commission were to issue a negative determination, in other words, approve this project through a vote of a negative determination, that a condition that you must provide proof that you have applied for a zoning permit. That's in our bylaw language, and there's been recent land court case that kind of emphasizes this, that if a project is cross-jurisdiction between the commission and another board, like Board of Health, Building, Zoning, any other obtainable permits, and according to our bylaw, must be quote-unquote applied for in order for the commission to issue or even deliberate over a permit in front of them. So when you apply for the zoning permit, just make sure you let us know, because we can't release this permit if it's approved until you do that,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, then. So typically on an RDA, we do not have conditions, but with this particular one, because of the complications, there are. So if someone would like to make a motion, including those specific conditions, I'll entertain that.
Wait, before we do,
Yes.
Drew, was that in there, or we're adding that? Which would be the proof
I
of
would
the
add
zo-
it,
the
add it.
zoning permit approval?
Add the zoning permit, it's not in there, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
add that
then-
part of the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move for a negative determination for Michael J. Glass at 41 Waterline Drive South, with the conditions of submittal of a vista pruning plan with the defined corridor as described in accordance with current regulatory standards. Said plan must be done by a certified surveyor and received and approved by staff prior to construction of the deck addition. Additional conditions of submission of a one-year signed monitoring and maintenance contract with a qualified professional for mitigation plantings and proof of the zoning permit approval.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marjorie. So we have a motion and a second on the table for discussion, further discussion by any of the commissioners.
I mean, I kind of do. I am wondering, I want a tree, at least one tree, in the mitigation area. Can I add that?
You can amend the motion.
Can I
if
amend the
you-
motion to include a tree in the mitigation area?
A tree, specific size, base size.
I don't know what kind, I'm trying to think of what would work for, in the shade. I don't know. Drew, what do you think?
Most likely what's already there, which would either be white oak or white pine,
Okay,
would probably have the best chance of success there.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so, an oak tree. I don't care the size, but, because we have the monitoring for
Mhm.
plantings, so.
Yeah,
Okay, so you want to amend the motion to include a white
Oak tree.
oak.
Mhm.
Is there a motion to accept that amendment?
Okay, so do we need to second vote on the amendment and then go
I
back and
think
vote
we
on
need to
Brian's?
clear
I'm
up
sorry?
the amendment to the motion, and then we can
Yeah,
vote on the motion.
so I'll second
You'll second that,
her amendment.
her amendment. Any discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, I would have a discussion.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with adding it to the motion, but where we just said if it's approved by the staff, is it something that we can just trust Drew to do? I mean, I do
It
understand.
doesn't have to be a white
but
oak. I was
yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
yeah, it can be approved
Yeah,
by Drew.
is that like something?
Yeah.
Or, because I don't mind accepting the amendment, but if we gave the direction to the staff, I mean.
yeah, we'll just see if it's feasible in that area, and if not, we can look at something else. It's
Yeah,
just-
That's
yeah,
fine.
okay.
Okay.
Good
So
call.
you withdraw your amendment?
No.
No.
But
She wants a tree.
I want a tree, but it can be at the discretion of the staff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and we are going to vote first on the amendment to the motion. Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes.
Thank you, yeah, Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. Marjorie?
Yep.
Alex?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the original motion that was on the table is now amended to include the tree, be it white oak if feasible, if not, the discretion of the conservation staff. I guess white pine would be the alternative, but,
There could be some others too.
okay. So we're back to the motion on the table that's been amended. Any further discussion about the tree or other discussion? Hearing none, I will call for a vote on the motion. Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Excuse my ignorance, but I'm confused.
Okay,
So,
sure.
so,
That's the intent of these hearings, is
fair enough.
It does get confusing.
No, just all the different things. So if I'm hearing this right, it's approved based on getting zoning Board of Appeals approval.
Application
I mean,
submitted.
application, yeah, okay, I'll probably call the office, so,
That's,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Right, we would have to have proof that you have gone to the zoning board and you're on their schedule for a hearing.
Okay.
To present that material. And also, the Vista Pruding plan has
Yep.
to be submitted
Yep,
prior to the construction of the deck.
oh, the deck, yep,
And the third one was the mitigation.
Mitigation is to
Maintenance.
ensure that there's a maintenance plan to ensure that the mitigation is not only put in place,
but
but
it grows,
is grows and
Yep.
maintained for a period of 1 year.
okay.
And you'd better get an oak.
I'm hearing white oak.
And if you need help planting the tree, I know a woman over there.
That would make a great title for a novel.
All right,
Want my oak.
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thinking to myself, I know, what's the oak?
I'm now calling the 6:06 hearing for Diane Wells, trustee, 28 Quaker Run Road. This is a proposed construction and maintenance of a single-family dwelling, including a garage, deck, patio, in-ground pool, and all associated utilities, a Title V septic system, landscaping, hardscaping, pier, ramp, and float. The representative is Cape and Islands Engineering, and this is a notice of intent. We have had a request to continue this hearing to January 26th at 6:03 PM. Is there a commissioner that would make a motion to accept?
So moved.
Thank you, Marjorie.
I'll second.
Thank you, Alex. Any discussion on the continuance requests? Any questions, rationale, interest as to why?
Yeah, did they say why?
I don't know.
Yeah, I had some, based on the comments that I had.
Yeah.
First, that they would rather have Shellfish and Harbor Master have their assessment
Okay.
before it comes before the commission, and then, based on communication with Cape and Islands, Mark Dibb, he said he's gonna work with the homeowners to see if they would be amenable to having the septic system upgraded to an IA system. It's outside of jurisdiction, but I did bring it up as something that still could affect something within jurisdiction, that being water quality. So,
Great.
we'll see what happens there, but that's the reason. Those are the reasons.
Any other comments in the discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none. Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. Marge?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. So that moves to January 26, 6:03.
Correct.
Probably have any mistakes over there.
Put in cement posts.
I don't think I've ever been.
It's possible.
They just have to be in the room by that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm now calling the 6:09 scheduled hearing for Lawrence M. and Heidi E. Raffone. I don't know if I pronounced that right. 10 Triton Way. This is a proposed addition to an existing single-family dwelling. The representative is Holmes and McGrath, Inc. This hearing has already been continued from December 8th, 2022. It's a request for determination of applicability. We have had a request, again, to continue this hearing to February 23 at 6 PM.
So moved.
You beat me to it, Marcia. I was
Well,
gonna
I'm
ask
just,
for it.
I'm thinking the other issues are so important that we want to focus, of course.
Thank you.
We'll move these along quickly.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Alex. We have a motion on the table, first and second, to vote on this continuance. Is there any discussion about the continuance request?
If you want to hear a reason why, I can provide that.
I'd be curious,
Yeah,
because this is the second one, and I
Right.
know, is it after the third? that we-
yeah. I mean, but the circumstances behind this one are a little bit different. Because it really, the basis for the continuances or the reasoning is not because of the project itself. It's because of a violation that was discovered on the property. That being vista pruning that was done without a permit and vista pruning that was done above and beyond what would be allowed under a permit. So we talked to Cape and Islands, and my recommendation in order to kind of expedite things is to have them file, or have the applicant file an after-the-fact notice of intent for vista pruning, and we receive that application, and in the absence of receiving that application, this current application for a requested addition is tabled until we receive that. So Cape and Islands has been very busy. They're trying their hardest to get this after-the-fact notice of intent filed. They just weren't able to get it in. I said, you have until the end of the day today. They weren't able to do it, so that's the reason.
Okay.
It should be in by tomorrow or early next week. Oh, they have it? Okay. Okay, so they're still working with the homeowner on it. I guess they're trying to convince them to do this, or if they want an addition, to do so.
So the hangup is on the after-the-fact filing.
Correct, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
so there you have it. Any other questions, concerns? I'll call for a vote on the request for the continuance. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marge?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. The hearing will be on 23rd of February. Moving right along. I'm now going to call a 6:12 hearing for Paul J. and Catherine M. Thurston, 25 Menemsha Road. This is for a proposed construction of an in-ground pool, hardscaping and landscaping. The representative is Flaherty and Stefani, Inc. This project has been continued from December 8th, 2022. It's a notice of intent. And we also have another request for a continuance to February 9th at 6:06. A lot of continuances tonight.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion for the continuance, if there is one.
Can I make a request before the motion?
Sure.
You have that look up.
There was no motion made. I asked for one.
You did, you asked for one, but, well, I'll be happy to give the motion. I just wanted to make a request
Yes.
that the commissioners get copies of any abutters' comments that may have come in. I've been lobbied pretty hard on this particular issue, and so in order to give everyone their due, I was told that there were letters. If there
There
are
are.
any
There are.
that we could see, I think it would be important that we know everybody's opinion. Okay, will that be
So
cool?
I will make a note that the letters that we have on file from abutters be distributed to all commissioners.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then I'm happy to make a motion to continue.
Okay. I thought those letters were, but
We usually
sorry?
just send them, we usually just send them to the chairman, the letters, and then they're read into the record, but yeah, that's fine.
I
That's
do
fine.
have them, and I was prepared
you
to
do?
read them into the
Yeah.
record tonight if this meeting, or this
Yeah.
hearing,
Uh-huh.
you know, went
Well,
on.
on either side, I just think
But it would be nice.
it would be nice.
We'll get those out to all the commissioners, absolutely.
I want to be able to say with great certainty and
Sure.
character that I read them.
Okay, then. Is there a motion?
Yes, so I made a motion to
Oh, and
continue.
you also made the motion,
I
I
did.
missed that, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have a motion then to continue this hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Motion on the table to continue. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Got my list here somewhere, but I pretty much have it memorized now. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marge?
Yep. Yes.
Yes? Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. All right, so put that one back. They should all be this easy.
The two I went to, the two properties I went to both got continued.
Surveying the property line through access.
Now calling the 6:15 hearing for Mark J. and Melissa A. Winters of 112 Waterway. This is a proposed demolition of an existing deck, construction of a patio and pool. The representative is Falmouth Engineering, Inc., and this is a notice of intent. Good evening, sir. Could I have your...
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for the record, my name is Michael Bliselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I'm joined by Andrew Garroway, the landscape designer for the project. We both represent the Winters for this notice of intent application. The Winters own the property at 112, and the application package included a plan of existing conditions, which shows all the existing conditions, topography, structures, dock and the waterway. The wetland resources of note include land under the ocean. There's a narrow band of salt marsh. And then the balance of the property is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. The project was designed keeping in mind your local regulations, and by that I mean the patio and pool were designed to fit within the footprint of the existing deck area, deck and spa area. They were designed such that they don't go closer to the wetland resources than the closest point of the existing primary structure. The setbacks are shown to demonstrate that. The existing deck and spa and steps are really not the most efficient use of the space. If you've been to the site, or if you make reference to the photos up there, you'll see there's a significant amount of steps that take up the bulk of the footprint of the deck, for a large, about a third of it actually. And it's not really the best way to utilize the space, so the Winters retained the services of Andrew to come up with a more efficient use of that area. He came up with a design that is efficient, fits in the same space, and it allows them to have a small pool and an elevated patio to take the place of that section of the deck. There's another section of deck to the bottom of the page where the words existing deck are shown there. That is to remain, so there'll be a deck surface and then a patio surface at the same elevation. It's basically elevated because the house is elevated because it's in a flood zone. There's one step down onto this level, and then the pool is basically at the same level as the patio. And then there's some more reasonable access stairs to gain access down to grade. The pool depth is 3 to 5 feet, and the pool itself is 10 by 16. There's a drain for the patio, and there's a drain to allow for the drawdown of the pool for maintenance, and that's shown on the plan as standard infiltrators, standard quick force standard chambers, which will allow for recharge of any water runoff from the patio, and it will also allow for the pool servicing as necessary.
The septic system is in the front yard, it's an IA system, it's out in the front, I think it's a fast system, so there's no conflicts with the pool and the septic system. We went through the mitigation planting calculations in accordance with your buffer requirements. And again, the pool patio design was designed with those calculations in mind. And there's actually a slight decrease in overall footprint from the existing condition of the deck to the proposed condition with the pool and the patio. And that's tabulated there on those mitigation calculations. So there's no restoration required for the project. We show a limit of work. It's open, access is easy, and we think it's a fairly straightforward and permittable plan. And we're both here to answer questions.
Thank you.
Could I was gonna say, could I make just a couple comments on that?
Sure.
One thing is that the pool depth is 5 feet, and because everything is elevated, the bottom of the construction will only be about a foot into the existing grade that's under the deck. So we're not getting into groundwater or anything like that. There won't be any dewatering or anything like that at all.
Roger, I think you wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions on that issue exactly. So, you made mention that the proposed new pool deck area is going to have less of an encroachment. On the buffer zone? Are you talking about the buffer zone?
The overall coverage in the buffer is shrinking.
It's shrinking.
Shrinking slightly, yes.
But it appears to me as though it's encroaching on the buffer zone. Am I not
It's-
reading it right?
There's,
50 foot?
it's displaced in an existing deck, so that's already,
So is that grandfathered in, Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe so.
The 50-foot buffer, both of these, the existing and the proposed, encroach over the 50 feet. So
Correct. So it's
he's implying that it's grandfathered in because it's already there.
it's pre-existing non-conforming, which is another.
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Correct, which there are a number of, probably 75% of the homes in New
Right.
Seabury pre-existing non-conforming. So when the commission looks at that, you can't, there's nothing in the Wetlands Protection Act that says you have to move this back, because if it's a legally permitted structure, the regulations are not retroactive to situations like that, unless you can show through credible evidence that the deck was built without a permit and encroaches into the 50-foot. If it was a legally permitted structure, AKA pre-existing non-conforming, then, and they're replacing it in kind in the same footprint and not pushing out beyond that pre-existing non-conforming structure, then there is no encroachment to the resource area. If it's occupying the same
So it's
footprint.
so it's the same.
It's
another way of
replacing
saying it's
what's
being
there with
grandfathered.
something new, but in the same footprint, essentially, yeah.
Okay, I just had one more question then on the size and the depth. And so you answered the first one, it only goes, the footing will only go a foot, you think, into the existing
Yes.
soil, the topsoil.
yes.
But on the new deck, will you just explain to me what part, if any, increases from the existing? It's hard to tell, but it appears as though it's less, and I'm just asking for your verification there.
Yeah, you have that up there. I show the existing, it's kind of ghosted in, it's hard to see on the screen, but the existing patio and concrete,
Yeah.
you can see it outside of my pool area, that gray line, that's where concrete now exists, and that's going to be gone, and we're going to be moving that edge of the pool a little closer to the house. There's a little tiny triangle, keep going up a little bit to the left. Yeah, that's coming out, but just a little to the left, there's a little tiny triangle right at the corner, right on the corner of my proposed. Yeah, right there where your arrow is. There's that little tiny bit that's going over the edge of that little step. And then if you go up to the next corner, there's a little tiny space in there. However, we're removing both all along that long length and the other triangle between those 2 points that I was showing before. And then up at where the landing is, there's an existing step that goes beyond that landing, right there. And then to the left, there's another set of steps right, a little closer to the deck, right there, yeah. So that's disappearing. So that's where the shrinkage is, so to speak. And, yeah,
So the net result is there's a reduction in the square footage
yeah,
when you do the math and the lot and the coverage.
yeah.
And is there any change at all in the draining, current draining system for the pool? You said was minimal, but what is it?
Okay, currently it's all deck, so rain would go between the slats of the deck.
Yeah.
And onto the ground. And this section is going to be patio. And if you see kind of looks like a ladder going through there, it's like an L shape. That is where we're picking up the drainage. And all of the drainage from the entire pool area there is going to go into a pipe and then into the drainage pit that's just to the north of those 2 plants. Where it says edge of lawn, those 2 little boxes, that's the
And when you call,
drain.
what you're calling a pit, am I hearing leaching field or no?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a low profile because we're near groundwater, so we're not going
Right.
deep into the ground, so it stays up high. It's about a foot thick, and the water goes into that and then goes into the ground from there.
Okay. That's what it's doing now, and that's what it will do in the future.
No, it's not doing that now. Now it goes right through the deck and onto the ground underneath the deck.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no drainage system currently, so we're making a drainage system.
So how much fill is gonna be required to bring the patio height up to the deck height?
Well, there's 11 feet between the house and the pool for a length of 16 feet, and then from the end of the pool, there's 11 feet by about 6 feet. So it's very little square footage, but it will be about 5 feet of fill in there, but it's very small amount of square footage. I can't tell you off the top of my
If
head.
you're taking currently there's a deck that's raised up.
Yeah.
So there's just the ground underneath it.
Yeah.
Several feet below, correct?
Yeah, it's about 5 feet.
Okay, so you're gonna be filling in 5 feet. So if flooding were to happen currently as it is, the water would go under the deck and to the house.
Yeah.
Now with this fill going in there in the pool, where's that water going?
It's
It's staying in the ocean.
It's
yeah.
coastal flooding, it's a de minimis, it would just find another location, it wouldn't displace the ocean.
Yeah, it's not like river flooding, so it doesn't make the flood zone come higher.
I know what you're saying, though, you're talking about the
Yeah.
houses that are required to be on stilts now.
Right.
It didn't before, so that in the event,
Of a-
unlikely as it is, that it would be a wash through rather than a,
But that's in
Area.
velocity zones, this is an
Yeah, this is
A
not,
zone.
this
I
isn't
know.
velocity zone. That is a standard for velocity
Yeah.
zone, but this is not that category of flood zone in this area.
so are you, I'm sure you've taken a look at these, which is, what's your thought on it?
But just going by building code in the flood and velocity zone,
Yeah,
that's where you would have to take into consideration construction of vertical walls in a velocity zone for displacement of floodwaters. This is AE, it's not velocity, so that standard doesn't apply.
that would make a great question on a GPA. Wouldn't it? And that was a good answer. Thank you, Drew.
Sure.
Okay.
Drew, does this project need to go through ZBA since it's in the?
It does.
Yep.
It does.
Does, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and Chris Corain is handling that application. I heard you loud and clear earlier, and I understand what you're saying, so.
Yeah.
Same thing would apply.
And it's gonna be moving forward, this is
I
gonna
know
be
he's
the.
working on the project, I just
Yeah.
don't know if he's applied, I think he was on vacation.
I mean, this all came down from a recent court ruling that
Yeah, I
kind of
understand.
changed things up with CBA, so
Mhm.
just moving forward because a lot of projects are gonna fall under this requirement as well, so just FYI moving forward.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, on the 5th of December, I made a little bit of a revision because we had to conform a little bit for zoning, and that's when we were putting in the wheels on the ZBA filing. But I don't think the ZBA filing's happened just yet.
I have a couple of specific questions. The pool itself, freshwater or saltwater?
It would be a saltwater.
It's a saltwater pool. And where are the utilities for this pool located? Did I miss that? I guess I
They're-
did.
They're up on the plan there.
Yeah, they're right here by the front corner, and it's elevated.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, because the ground goes up higher there, and then we have it on a slight elevation, so that it's outside of it's above the flood zone,
Okay.
above the base elevation of 11.
And the two standard quick four drawdown chambers, what's the groundwater elevation directly below those chambers?
0.5, elevation between 0.5 and 1.
Yeah, it's,
So it'd be, the groundwater would be about 4 feet below the ground there.
yeah,
Groundwater elevation is 4 feet below,
4 to 4.5 feet below the
The
ground, so it'd be about, it'd be close, it would be at or close to elevation 0.5. And I don't know what the bottom of your,
well, it's only a foot thick, and we'll have a foot of cover over it, so it'd be, the bottom of it would be about elevation 3.
so
'Cause,
the bottom will be about.
yeah, you can,
2.5 feet above the water table.
you can see there's it's very hard to see, but in between the two shrubs there, it says 5.3, that's the existing elevation of the ground.
yep,
So the top of it will be about elevation 4, and the bottom of the system would be about elevation 3.
But it would be a saltwater pool too, so,
Yeah.
there's no issue with groundwater contamination.
well, assuming the salt water has nothing in it.
That's,
I mean,
that's
people
what-
are in the pool.
Sure.
Okay.
But
So
there's no,
here's
like,
my- Here's my
chemicals.
next question. What, I don't see soil profiles here, and I wouldn't expect to because there's no proposal for an SDS system. But what is the drainage characteristics of the soil? I'm assuming less than 2 minutes an inch?
Absolutely, of course,
Okay.
yeah.
So I was calculating when you were presenting on the pool itself, which on paper says it's from 3 to 5, but in your presentation, you said for the most part it's 5. But what I did with my calculations is I went with 4. I'm just dividing it evenly and saying the pool is 4 feet deep. At that pool would contain close to 4,800 gallons of water. So if this pool had to be drawn down completely for like a failure of the base, you're going to be pumping 4,800 gallons of water into these two pits that are only a foot deep and that are, fairly close to the groundwater at a perk rate of less than 2 minutes per inch. That groundwater is going to take quite a hit.
Well, that's assuming you draw the entire thing down, which you might have to.
Well, that's what I always do. I always prepare for the worst-case scenario.
So the
And
way-
that way, when something bad happens,
Right.
you're good to go. And in most cases, it's not as bad as you thought. But
Sure.
let's go with the worst-case scenario.
So in that case, there'd be 2 alternatives. One is you draw it down in phases, you draw down a foot at a time, let some time go by, and then draw it down some more. So you wouldn't just draw it down all at once. There's option 1. If you're gonna do a significant repair to a pool like that, and you could make it a condition if you're concerned, you could require a truck be brought in and pump it into a truck. It's done, the water's delivered to fill pools all the time by truck, so if you wanted to drain it down, this is for general maintenance where you might have to draw it down a
Sure.
foot.
Wintertime, you might want to
Yeah.
draw it down,
But
put a
those,
cover on
like-
it. I get it.
Those significant events, and that's why you issue an order of conditions, you can condition it on that. to be put on a truck.
That has been conditioned before, and just right across the water from this one, actually.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes.
Drew, could we condition, I don't know if we could do this, could we condition no fertilizers on their lawn? Like if they want approval to do this, like no more fertilizing your entire yard that's lawn.
Not saying you can't, but it's not really part of the application, the scope of the application. I mean, you can condition whatever you feel is, you know, the right thing to do. I'm not even sure, I didn't really take a close look at the lawn, what the composition is, if it's like a rye fescue mix that really doesn't get much fertilizer to begin with, or if it's a high-maintenance lawn, it's hard to tell this time of year.
Right.
But, you know, certainly something that could be asked of the homeowners in the interest of, you know, reducing impacts to water quality. So I would say anything that a commissioner wants to condition, put it out there for the commission's consideration and take a vote on it. That's the best advice I can give.
Okay.
Charlie, are you all set with questions or comments?
I am.
Okay. I'll open it up to the audience for questions or comments. I see we do have someone. Yes. Could one of you gentlemen allow this woman to, so we can hear her?
I'll be quick.
No, you have all night, take your time.
Lynn Barbie, Surf Drive. I thought pools had to have fences around them for safety, to keep kids out and unwelcome guests out. And I don't know how to read these plans, so I don't really see a fence around it, but it seems like it probably should have a fence around it. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we address this issue?
Yes, that's a very good point. The pool has an automatic cover that meets the ASTM standard that does not require, that suffices as the pool enclosure. So it does not require a fence,
So the town does not require a fence because it has an auto cover.
because it has that, yeah. It's
That's
the
in the building code.
2018 building code.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, because I've seen similar issues. Sometimes a homeowners association will, even though the town doesn't, and that homeowners association ruling would supersede what the town says. So are you okay? Is this an association piece of property?
New
It is,
England-
it's in Brett codes,
Yeah, it's in,
so it should go
Is
through,
that
I'm
Brett?
sorry to interrupt, it should go through DR.
it's not,
At the preliminary.
it's New Seabury.
The fence itself is really not the purview of
Waterway.
conservation, but the issue's been brought up, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, yeah, this is, had not had this come up at all with the association. I personally like fences for safety reasons. As far as conservation goes, it's better for conservation that there's not fences because it impedes animal movement. But no, we haven't had any issues with this at all in this. Over at, I think it was 44 Waterway, a pool was just permitted with the automatic cover, no fence. The house
And you got
next,
your permit from our,
yeah, you guys approved it, yeah. That's Pierce, I think is the name on that one.
If I can make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I am a member of the New Seabury Architectural Review Committee, and that committee cannot overrule the building code.
Really?
Yeah.
You can make things stricter, though.
We have no oversight of the building code. We just have oversight of exterior architectural finishes and details.
And this,
So the committee can't overrule the building code.
this was approved by ARC.
a association could have a restrictive covenant which specifically addresses pool installations, and in that case it would.
Right, but the
This does
Peninsula
not.
Council and the Architectural Review Committee guidelines does not have that.
So you don't have any concerns about it, Steve?
No. Not one bit. There's multiple homes in New Seabury and Mashpee that have automatic covers in the last several years.
Yeah.
So. Then the building commissioner approves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other people in the audience that would like to comment? Hearing no further comment, I will entertain a motion.
We're about to do his comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is a point of clarification, and it would only make a minor modification to the chart that you have that says that this squares out in mitigation if there's no mitigation required. So I just want to make it clear for every project that is using the chart to claim mitigation credit for areas that are no longer occupied by current structure, and you're drawing them back, that's not a mitigation credit, because what I'm assuming is going to go in that area is lawn and not mitigation planting. So you can't use the chart in that way. I know it's kind of open to interpretation, so I understand why you would interpret it as a mitigation
Yeah.
credit, but it's not. That's not the intent of the chart. The chart is mitigation. So if you're abandoning an area and drawing back structure and increasing the setback, and you're just putting in lawn or some ornamental landscaping, that's not mitigation. So this actually does trigger mitigation based on those small areas, so I would like to see something to kind of beef up the buffer zone based on those areas, but they're not. And for every project moving forward under this similar scenario, the chart isn't to be used to calculate mitigation credit. There's no mitigation, there's no mention of mitigation credit anywhere in the waiver section, so it simply doesn't exist as far as how the chart is drafted up and how it should be interpreted.
Yeah, and I came up with the chart basically to, not so much as being credit, but where the overall coverage is increasing or decreasing.
Right.
Not so much to claim it as credit, but if we're taking something away and we're adding something, in some cases that balances out, or am I mistaken on that?
Well, the way I see it, and maybe this is just my own interpretation, but if you're, like in this, the triangle up here,
Yeah.
in this area here,
Yeah,
so that portion of the deck's being removed.
yeah,
I'm assuming lawn's going in there, which has little to no environmental
right,
value
I get you,
whatsoever.
I get you.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not structure that's going in there, it's lawn, I understand
Oh, I
that.
understand what you're saying.
But the
yeah.
whole purpose is, and like I said, this is kind of open to interpretation. The chart doesn't give you exact kind of details here.
But
That's
we-
just the way I see it, is that
we
you
wanna-
put in lawn,
yeah.
it really does nothing as far as a trade-off, and that's really the whole point of the mitigation chart, is getting something in return. And this is very minor, and I recognize that. I'm just saying that's kind of, how it should be looked at.
Drew, could we ask if they put some kind of mitigation where this concrete strip is going to be gone now?
Well, I only say mitigation close to the resource area because that's where it really
Yeah.
should go to
Yeah.
move up a buffer zone. So rather than around the structure,
I can do that.
I think it would do better to, because this is a pretty
Yeah,
thin,
we'll have that in there.
non-existent buffer zone
I
here. So
think
to
so,
get
yeah.
something in there to kind of beef it up would be
Yeah,
a recommendation.
and if I can suggest, maybe we can put in, it's a small area, but maybe like 4 inkberry somewhere along the
Kind
edge.
of, yeah,
the,
berry producing
give up.
shrub that is good in a coastal environment, I think would be suitable.
Yeah, because it's not open to the wind there very much, because
Right.
there's already some stuff in there. So if we expand, maybe on the, remove some lawn over in this area here
Yeah.
and add something there.
Yeah, I think that would be a good area for it.
By the salt marsh, we were thinking.
Yeah,
Yes.
up against, yeah,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah.
So that was my only comment on the project, and I'll just read Board of Health and building comments. Board of Health required setbacks from edge of in-ground pool are 10 feet from tank and 20 feet from the soil absorption system. Note the location of the septic system and restrict equipment, vehicle traffic over the non-load bearing H10 components. Access to septic components must be maintained. and building comments, we just went over this, but
I apologize.
requires ZBA relief under 174-31 and 174-33 and -17. 174-33 and 174-17. So just proof of submittal of, you don't have to acquire the permit, it's just, we just need documentation of submittal. So,
Yep, understood.
no other comments?
Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry about ignoring you.
That's all right.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion from the commissioner on this notice of intent, now that there's no further questions or comments.
I'll make a motion to close an issue for 112 Waterway with mitigation as determined with staff. And I would like to add the condition of no fertilizers on the lawn.
Addition of no fertilizers at all.
They're within nope. I think it negatively impacts the water. I
Okay.
want the homeowner to know about it.
Don't forget the proof of zoning, too.
Zoning application,
And the zoning, yep, so how do I word that?
just documentation of application to zoning.
Okay, and the providing of the documentation.
Yeah, what about the pool drawdown for pumping on a truck versus the infiltrators?
Sure, I don't know if there was a consensus on that or not. If you're putting it out there as a motion, I don't know.
No problem with that.
Yeah, because we had talked about, you had mentioned that those infiltrators, if you draw down more than a foot, right?
So
Okay,
in the
Mr.
event,
Chairman.
of a full drawdown, a truck be brought in to be drawn down to offsite, to remove offsite.
Okay.
Are we okay with that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that avoids a second vote. That's good.
Just trying to speed it up.
Is there a second? Hold on. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. I will now open up the motion that we have on the table to the commissioners for discussion. Nothing, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. I would like a little bit of clarification. The application has not been submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, correct? They have no application.
To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Corain is working on the application, but had vacation, and I don't believe he submitted it as of today.
Okay. So you have neither applied nor you have obtained a special permit.
Correct.
I would say to the commissioners that just based on 310 CMR, I don't think we can issue an order of conditions. Can we?
I would say that
Especially with that reason.
you could make the motion or amend the motion to say that you would close the hearing and issue pending documentation of the submittal of the application to the Zoning Board of Appeals. There were previous applications too that had the similar condition, but you approved it. So, but I think that's something that would be the most reasonable thing to do, is just add it as a condition of issuance. Close the hearing, unless there's other conditions before you close the hearing, but that would be my recommendation.
So the,
Procedurally speaking, if zoning were to, it wouldn't just be issued because zoning opened it up. It would be with the approval of zoning?
So under the bylaw, under our bylaw, the wording is that all other obtainable permits must be quote-unquote applied for in order for the commission to deem applications before this board to be complete. So in the absence of, in a scenario where a ZBA application has not been submitted to ZBA and they're before you currently,
Yeah.
you can make the motion to close the hearing and then pending proof
Issuance.
of application to the ZBA, issue an order of conditions. You wouldn't issue those orders until we receive proof that they have applied to the
They can't do
Or
the
as
same
an
thing, or else
alternative.
we'd never be able to do it.
Could we,
I think, as an alternative, just, forgive me, but under the heading of discussion, I think we could withdraw, if you were willing.
Yeah.
Withdraw the motion, introduce a motion to continue, and once they have the ZBA, or at least proof. Is there anybody else other than ZBA that they have to show? No, so far, we're good.
No,
And then have them come back next time and approve it next time.
my concern is the recent land court judgment and decision. And they specifically talk about following the bylaws, and it's not just a case that applies to one other. It's clear across the entire
Everybody.
town. Right.
Right.
All departments are supposed to be following that decision. And that decision is pretty
Yeah.
clear, that, you know, you have to have the permit, or you have to have the application.
Can I just bring up a point, what I mentioned earlier in the previous hearing for 41 Waterline Drive? That had the exact same requirement, and you closed the hearing pending a couple of different conditions. Submission of a revised plan showing a Vista Corridor, 1-year monitoring and maintenance for mitigation, and proof of submission of an application to ZBA.
So I think I did,
I
I
didn't-
think I made that motion when I just did this
Yeah.
motion.
You did.
Brian told me
It
to.
wouldn't, in my opinion, make sense to hold that for one and not the other.
The other.
I don't think I think because,
I thought they applied.
no, they hadn't.
Yeah, we made that motion for
Yeah.
41
So
Waterline.
I don't think you're really losing anything by just making it pending issuance of an order of conditions.
And there's
And I
a
think in
hold on
light
the
that
order.
this, yeah,
Right.
in light that this court decision just came down literally a couple of days before the
Right.
hearing, some leniency maybe
Yeah.
for this situation. That's just my recommendation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any risk in it, because
No.
you're not gonna issue anything until
Right.
you get the
Until we
ZBA
get the
filing, so.
ZBA application
yeah.
submitted, yeah.
And how does that work, Drew? I'm just curious, because I wasn't here last Tuesday. So it gets approved pending, and, you know, citing the new land court ruling, and then if they get everything and it's all in order, it comes to you, and then administratively, you just let the rest of the commission, you let the commissioners know, and all is well in America, yeah?
No, so
Yeah, so you
he
would-
gets the proof of it and then he releases the document.
Then we release the
Then you
order.
release it.
Yeah, correct.
And the homeowner is aware, made aware that that's the condition.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be built into the order that we draft up. We just wouldn't physically mail it out or have them pick it up until that condition is satisfied or any other conditions prior to issuance. So, and I think that would be the only one here, is the ZBA for this particular project.
Yeah.
Okay, so for clarification purposes, we are staying with the motion that's on the table and seconded. We're in discussion. There are no amendments to that motion.
And that motion had in it,
Several conditions. Could you repeat those, please?
yes. So it had mitigation as determined with Drew, no fertilizers on the lawn, approval or proof of submission to ZBA. And there was 4, wasn't there?
Yeah, in the event of a full drawdown of the pool, it has to be pumped out by a
Yes.
truck.
In the event of a full drawdown, it has to be pumped out by truck, off-site. Does that cover everything?
So,
All right.
So how do you feel about that, Mr. Chairman? The way that it's written up?
The conditions themselves?
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify to make sure that they were all part of the motion as it came
Okay.
forward.
I just wanted to benefit from your superior knowledge of this particular issue.
And how superior. I might be the oldest one sitting at the table. There are parts to this project that I, quite frankly, don't feel comfortable with. I always am concerned when I see alterations in a floodplain. And I did hear in this proposal tonight that a certain amount of fill was being brought in. That concerns me.
If I could speak to that, can you point to a...
We're in discussion right now
Okay.
amongst the commissioners, but I will come to you when this discussion ends. Is that sufficient, Marjorie, or?
Yeah, other than if I may push you, that it changes whether you would support the proposal as amended, even if the amendment goes through, or not? Or is that too personal?
I think the amendments, or the conditions that are on this proposal, I think they're good. They're good. I mean, a big concern that I had was putting that entire pool into those pits.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially with the size of the pit and perk rate and groundwater being right there. So I don't have any qualms about the conditions that are put into the proposal. I'll revert back to, I just don't feel comfortable putting fill into a floodplain.
Fair enough.
Anything else on behalf of the commissioners before I call for a vote in this discussion? I said I would let you make a point, Mike.
Two things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Philosophically, I'm not going to argue with you about filling the flood zone, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware that there are no regulations prohibiting that, either locally or at the DEP level. These types of projects where there's minor alterations to by placing fill in a flood zone don't have any impact on the ability of land subject to coastal storm flowage to continue to perform and function the way that it does. They don't you can't displace the ocean by placing small amounts of fill. I just wanted to say that, I understand your concern, but there's no prohibitions against it. And the only other thing I wanted to say was with regard to Alex's condition about the lawn fertilizers. I am fully on board. I get it about nitrogen loading. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I had two questions. One, does the town already have a regulation about lawn management in these areas? And two, I think you should be cautious in picking and choosing projects. If you feel as though you don't want nitrogen loading by lawn fertilizers, it should be a standard condition on all orders. Otherwise, you're going to be challenged and there's going to be precedent setting.
Right, so this property is entirely lawn.
I know.
The last property, like one of the last ones we looked at, had a vegetated buffer.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
disagreeing. I'm just saying you should be cautious about how you apply that condition because, when is it too much lawn, I guess? It's a rhetorical question is all I'm, I agree that we hear about it every day. You read about DEP and we're going to all be faced with Title V issues with the, Conservation Law Foundation's lawsuit against your town. And nitrogen loading by fertilizers is huge, along with septic systems. But if you're going to apply a condition to this project, you should be doing it to all that have lawns, regardless of the size.
Can I make a comment on that? I think it would be.
As long as it's brief, I'll move on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it would be entirely appropriate to use the lawn standard, the fertilizer Mashpee lawn standard for fertilizer, not just to say you can't have any fertilizer. That would be a normal condition, I would think, where saying no fertilizer is it's very specific to this project and nobody else's. Does that make sense, or?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
That
Our
kinda
lawn
covers you
standards
guys.
don't say no fertilizer. They
Yeah.
say organic variety, water or something about solubility and
Slow release.
slow release, organic
Water
variety.
insoluble,
And only a particular, very specific amount applied at very specific times of year. But it's not a complete ban on fertilizer.
Yeah, so
And you need organic fertilizer for all the mitigation that we require, so you can't just outright ban fertilizer, at this point, at least. I know towns have taken that measure, other towns, but
And-
they're not set in stone either, because there's a lot to consider there. And I'm not advocating one way or the other, I'm just explaining the reality of the situation.
I'm just suggesting perhaps that's the best way to address your issue with that.
No, because I don't want them to put any fertilizer on the lawn. I don't want to introduce any nitrogen into the waterway from this from this house and this project. Like, I don't, if they're gonna get a pool and get to bring fill into the flood zone, and
Got
the
it.
whole property's in the flood zone. That's why I want to throw that out there and see if that's.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
I hear both sides, and I'm kind of leaning more towards Marjorie's recommendation, what she had mentioned earlier about possibly moving the hearing and continuing this issue. The only reason why I would ask for it to be continued is for Drew to check in the meantime with legal, because my understanding right now is that I do understand their point too, with us setting a precedent. I personally would not feel comfortable with moving forward without checking with town council, because the last thing I want to do is open any of us up to litigation and see, that work out and play out that way. So my recommendation and suggestion would be to continue this hearing, and if we can find out that information and other stuff before the next hearing, I would feel more comfortable. If this was to move forward right now, I probably would abstain, just to be honest.
What specifically are we asking, or are you recommending we ask town council for clarification on?
If we can say no
Yeah.
fertilizer on
Okay,
your
yeah,
lawn.
Yeah, I just wasn't
Not
sure.
the zoning issue.
Not the zoning issue.
Not the zoning issue.
Not the zoning, but
Yeah.
the lawn fertilizer.
Right.
Yep,
Understood.
I'll withdraw my motion.
You withdraw the motion.
So if I withdraw
its
my motion,
entirety.
then we can just make a motion to continue, we don't have to go like 1,000 votes, right?
Right.
Just
So
the motion to continue takes care of that so that you can reintroduce if the town council comes back and says no problem.
Okay, so don't withdraw.
No,
Do
you should withdraw.
Okay, I'm withdrawing my motion.
Right, so
Right?
Brian, you're going to make a motion to amend the motion. And
I will make a motion to amend it, the amendment would be for us to continue the hearing to what would be the date?
Okay,
So this would be January 26th at 6:06 PM.
January 26th at 6:06 PM. All right.
6:06.
good idea, Brian, thanks.
So,
Okay,
Mr.
is
Chairman,
there-
may I- Oh, sorry.
Is there a second to Brian's motion to?
I'll second that.
Charlie beat you to it, Alex.
You did beat me.
So I will ask for a brief discussion on the
That'd be
amended
great.
motion. the
I just
amended
want
motion.
parliamentary order, parliamentary procedure. I don't think it has to be an amendment to an amendment that's been amended already. I think it could be easily done with the motion to withdraw, which negates her amendment altogether.
Okay.
And then the fresh motion from Brian to continue.
Good job.
Yeah, it's just clean.
Clean, it is way cleaner.
Thank you, because I know you have a lot of former representatives.
call
I
me
know you have a
Madam
lot of, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Okay, so the motion's been withdrawn,
There you go.
and we now have a motion to continue, and that is seconded.
Do we have to vote on that?
We,
withdrawal?
yes.
You vote on the withdrawal?
No.
No,
Oh,
okay,
okay, good.
all right. That's my, that's
like,
that
that's
was
why I
just a
did that.
question, yes.
So the motion now is to continue, and we're looking at January 26th at 6:06. There's a second on that. Is there any questions or problems or concerns?
So that's just to verify with the town council on the
Fertilizer,
fertilizer.
but also then it gives them the chance to apply to ZBA in the meantime,
a little more
and we
time
don't have
to
to worry
get
about
that-
that part.
Yeah.
Process
Take care of your
going.
stuff.
Okay.
I'd feel better with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll call for a vote on the motion that we have. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. Marge?
Yes?
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So the motion carries to continue the hearing to January 26th at 6:06.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
I know that was a lot, thanks.
There's a lot.
You continued 3 hearings, so we're just getting up there now.
Yeah.
We're on a roll now. The other continuance is a lot quicker than that one.
You were a beneficiary of that.
Jeez.
Well,
Previous hearing. Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm now going to call the 6:18 hearing for Brendan P. Giblin 90 Pompanesett Island Road. This is for a proposed demolition of existing dwelling and appurtenances, construction and maintenance of a new single-family dwelling, garage with pile-supported guest suite above, an in-ground swimming pool, fencing, pool cover, enclosure, new patios, landscaping, hardscaping, and a Title V IA septic upgrade. Representative is Cape and Islands Engineering. This is a notice of intent. And we have had a request to, boy, we really got a lot of them tonight. We've had a request to continue this to February 9 at 6:03. So if there is a motion, I will entertain that.
So moved.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Second.
Thank you, Alex. Discussion on the continuance? Hearing none. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Charlie?
Maybe he muted himself.
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you, Charlie. March?
Yes.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
I vote yes as well, so that hearing will be continued to February 9th, 6:03. Took a lot of pictures out there today, too. Kind of looking forward to that here.
Which one?
90 Pompanesett.
90?
Yeah,
We all went up. We all did our due diligence.
that's a beautiful spot out there.
Walking the property.
I was out
You
on
should
the-
see me in my boots.
Okay. Now calling the 6:21 hearing for Michael D. Madnick of 27 Lincatina Road. This is a proposed Title V IA septic system. Representative is Meyer and Sons, Inc., and this is an RDA.
Good evening, Darren Meyer, representing the owner, Michael Madnick. The proposal before you is for a replacement of a failed Title V leaching system. Currently, it's an existing tank with a leach pit that's in failure. We have an existing three-bedroom dwelling. There's no proposed increase in flow. The owner is proposing to install a Singulair denitrification system, which will then gravity feed to a leach field of pipe and stone. The area of construction is open. There will be no removal of any trees. It's basically lawn and shell driveway with some brick. We've provided for mitigation with socks or straw bales at the edge of the proposed work area. I'm happy to answer any questions with regards to the proposal.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open it up to the commissioners first for comments or questions you might have based on the presentation or paperwork in front of you.
I'm just happy to see a failed system being upgraded to an AA system.
No,
I think you're going to see a lot more. Well, I hope you're going to see a lot more.
Yeah.
Point six. Any other questions from the commissioners? Charlie?
No.
Nothing on your end? Steve, you good? Brian? Good. All set. Marjorie, no? I have no further questions. Let me ask those in the audience if you would like to question anything. Comment? No? Drew, I'll come to you.
Okay, just a couple of comments from Board of Health. Property is in a Zone 2 water recharge area. Design plan for IA system was approved by Board of Health on December 20th, 2022 with the following conditions. A floor plan shall be submitted with the living room/dining room area relabeled as dining room, and the large basement bedroom with sliders relabeled as living room. Number 2, upon issuance of the required building permit, a 6-foot cased opening into the small basement bedroom shall be constructed to eliminate the privacy. And number 3, property shall be restricted to 3 bedrooms with sleeping for max 2 persons per bedroom. Are those familiar to you already, or?
Yeah, it's already been addressed
Okay, I
through
figured.
their office.
I figured that was the case.
Yeah.
No comments from the building commissioner, and for my own comments, pretty straightforward project, certainly an upgrade, environmentally speaking, from what's currently existing. Happy to see an IA system being implemented in this location, particularly considering it's in a Zone 2 water recharge area and within 100 feet of BVW associated with Dean's Pond. And as you can see from the photos, this is the area, and the plan, of course. The driveway layout occupies the majority of the footprint and some of the hardscaping here, pathway and associated landscaping. So no interference with naturally vegetated areas on the lot. This picture down here doesn't capture the pond, but the pond is immediately to the left of this main leader coming out from the tree. So there's a bordering vegetated wetland. This is the backyard, and Dean's Pond is in this direction. So no impact to BVW or land under water bodies and waterways for Dean's Pond. So recommend a negative determination.
Thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
I'm happy to make a motion for negative determination for Michael Madnick at 27 Concertina.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there anyone that would like to comment on the motion that we have on the table? Just a clarification through on the Board of Health comments. The property shall be restricted to 3 bedrooms, sleeping a maximum of 2 persons per bedroom. And it's a 600 GPD denitrification wastewater treatment system. Do those numbers add up?
That's a question for Board of Health.
What is it per day, per person? I thought it was 110.
I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I just happened to see that as we were,
Yeah.
and I see 600, and I'm thinking it should be 660. Is it a typo, or, I don't know.
It's not a typo.
It's not a typo.
Nope.
Do you,
You know what the,
do you have the number?
It's
Math
110 per bedroom, 55 per person.
Oh,
But the-
55 per person. I thought it was 110 per person.
Nope, the max flow here is 330 gallons.
110 per couple. I don't know, I'm being silly.
Okay. Well, it's something that caught my eye quick, just a little
That's a good
science.
And thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Then I will call for a vote. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
So now that you have your yes, you also should be getting a little medal for having the shortest hearing.
And waiting the longest.
And
Yes.
waiting
Wait
the
the longest
longest.
and get
Happy
the
it's
shortest
And
over.
time.
speaking the shortest.
Thank
And
you very
having
much.
something
You'd
that
like
we
to
were
stay
all
for a
happy
while
with
and
the
take up some more
CBIA, yeah.
Thank you.
That's the trick, is to come forward with your.
Thank you. 55.
Mr. Chairman, may I just say, you are doing a magnificent job of steering us through a very busy agenda.
Well,
Just saying.
it's all luck. I should get one of those Powerball tickets that no one can seem to win.
Mega Millions.
Mega Millions, I don't get them, so I don't even know what they are. Now calling the 6:24 hearing for, and I'm going to do my best, Sanjeev and Sarika Agarwal, 205 Uncle Percy's Road. This is for proposed additions to an existing dwelling. Representative is BSS Design, and this is a notice of intent.
Good evening. My name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. Mr. Agarwal is here also, but I'll be doing the talking. So yeah, it's up on the screen there. That's the existing house with a driveway in there. I think Drew called it Frog's Leap Pond. I'm
I
not
think that's what it's called, yeah.
yeah, that's the name of it there, okay. It's in behind the property, and there is a flood zone that comes in from, I'm not sure where it comes in from, but the wetland. The pond is in the flood zone, and it comes in from some other way via Papaneset. And there's that sloped area there. The flood zone is elevation 10, and there's a coastal bank along the top of the slope, basically up to elevation 10, and the Mashpee Coastal Bank is 1 foot higher at elevation 11, where it still has at least a 10-to-1 slope. And of course, there's a BVW along the pond. There's a flat area in there, so that's the inland bank is only up to the water level there, and not it doesn't go up to the top of where the coastal bank is in that location. I think in my narrative I said I felt that this particular coastal bank, as many that are quite far inland, is not perform several of the functions of a coastal bank that you're used to on place something like on Papaneset Island, for instance. So I had sent that plan over, and I have our copy of the plan. I put a little more color on it, so you can see there are two additions. This smaller one here, we labeled as addition number 1 on the plan, and it's in a little nook in the house where there's really a lot of paving stones and some mulch and whatever other materials there. Nothing native in that location. It has an area, the addition itself has an area of 380 square feet, and between sort of some of the hardscape that's in there that's being removed, then the addition and some stepping stones, and the steps down that go on that plan to the right, those are being added also. So we have that addition there, and the mitigation for that is the mitigation for the addition 1 is basically just 190 square feet. And then I have we have some along there, as Drew was showing on there, and there's some other mitigation on the bank also, and I've got to see what,
That one, I think you had
I can't remember, I have it divided somewhat, and I have the
669 square feet on
there's 669 square feet total, so the other addition on the left side of the west side of the house there is further back from the further from the wetland. It's not within 50 feet of the BVW, but it is within 50 feet of that coastal bank. I actually did the mitigation calculations based on the BVW alone. I felt that was the more important of the resource areas, and so we were showing that the total mitigation from both additions is 669 square feet, which would go again along the side of the property and also on the face of the coastal bank directly in front of the house. I also have noted on that one thing that Drew picked up. There's that deck that has been there since long before the Agarwals bought the property. And so Sanjeev talked to Mike Richardson. It's that deck there that's fairly old. It's right down by the pond in the BVW. Sanjeev talked to Mike Richardson about that, and you know he's with the Peninsula Council, He's known about that deck for quite some time. It's been there for quite some time, so he's not overly concerned with it. But, Sanjeev, Mr. Agarwal was saying that on that plan, I have just labeled that he'd cut off the corner at the property line and take that off. But after talking with Mike Richardson, Mr. Agarwal just said that he would, when doing the demolition for the proposed addition number 1, he would work with permission from the Peninsula Council, take out the entire deck and revegetate that area in addition to the mitigation planting on his own property for the additions. I think that pretty much covers it. The addition number 1, he would like to do this year, and number 2, a year or 2 following that. He's not quite sure how the timing would go on that, but only number 1 would be coming up this current year to try to get that done. It's just a sunroom to replace an outdoor sitting area. For number 2, it is mostly previously disturbed, but there is one 10-inch pine. It goes a little bit into the understory there, but there's only one tree to remove in that location to do the excavation and get the work around it. And there's, as you said, about 700 square feet of mitigation to make up for both of them. So I'll take any questions now, whatever you might have.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, I will open this up to commissioners for questions or comments on what we have before us. While you're looking at that, I have just one question. I didn't expect that there would be a septic design on this, but that will be reviewed by the Board of Health, right? Because you're
No,
changing-
that's the existing septic system.
Right. And where is that? Because I'm not seeing it.
It's in the front, partly under.
Oh, okay.
It's actually I believe it's a denitrifying system
Right,
that
yep,
was
see it
done
now,
some years ago, and it's under the circular driveway.
It's to the left and the right as you walk in that driveway area?
It's on the right-hand side of the circle.
Right.
We label it, well, the tank is in the planting bed directly in front of the house. And then the leaching area is where we label approximate area of SAS.
Yeah, it's a microfast IA.
Yeah.
It's fairly new then.
Yeah. They still have to do a floor plan and everything.
Right.
Board of Health comments.
And they're not increasing the number of bedrooms in
Right.
this. As I said, one is a sunroom and the other one is expansion of the kitchen.
And when I was on this site today, there's a lot of the vegetation immediately to the left of the deck that's there, that's been there since before your client bought the property.
Yes.
A lot of that vegetation is just chopped right off.
That was,
Relatively new. I got a picture of one, and it looks like some hungry deer were there, so I don't think it was a deer that would be eating that, but
that was mentioned, Drew mentioned that. Said he hasn't done any pruning, and there might have been, he will not do any pruning unless and until he gets a Vista prune permit. There'll be no more cutting, however that was done in the past.
Yeah, the previous homeowners, there were more cuttings than what you saw there. They had committed a violation. I think that was part of the violation, was the cutting of those shrubs towards the shoreline in the inland bank area. And then in the upland, specifically, I'm going to show you on this map, this area here, just above where the mitigation is proposed here. This was all cut of shrubs, native shrubs by the previous homeowner. They did a lot of unauthorized cutting and removal, and they had to mitigate for that. Part of that mitigation is actually over here, a portion of it, where this proposed expansion is, and that's proposed to be transplanted over as part of the project. And then my thoughts were some of that could go, because this wasn't part of the initial application, in the footprint of the deck, because it's very close, it abuts BVW. So that's an ideal spot
And that's where
to
those,
have
those
revegetated.
black patio lights were all strung through, is that the area?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I see it today.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty bad violation from the previous homeowners. The current homeowner had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just situation from the previous, yeah. It's- yeah.
Yeah, I took quite a few pictures of those.
Yeah,
when I was looking
so
at
did
it.
I.
So Drew, I think a number of us made sure that we go down just to see the site,
Mhm.
because there were some oddities about this application. So at this point in time, it doesn't, if there has to be a revisitation of these issues, it really can't be decided on tonight, can it?
No, I don't feel that these issues should hold up the hearing. That's your call.
Oh,
If
you
you want to
don't?
make a motion for that, that's not my call, that's yours.
Okay.
My recommendation was to close an issue, and then have the homeowner work with the Peninsula Council, because you can see,
You recommend a continuance.
huh?
You recommend
Oh, I did recommend a continuance, yeah, that's right, I did. Yeah, so, but I think some of the issues, because Tom had amended the plan, that the questions that I had weren't answered at the time when I made these comments.
I see.
That's why, but again, it's your call. I think either or, continuance or close an issue, you know, pending additional conversation with Mike Richardson of the Peninsula
Right.
Council to determine plantings, and I'm sure he would be fine with having plantings put in where the deck is currently occupying that footprint.
But if they didn't follow the process, I'm not sure what your implication was, that it was all the former owner, or that right now there are violations too,
Oh.
even if it was the Peninsula Council?
I believe it
Which
was,
both Steve and I are, you're on our, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on the board for the Peninsula Council, so I'm not sure if that, under the heading of full disclosure.
yeah,
I just want to make sure that we do it right.
sure. I think the current property owner understands the situation. He wasn't the one that did the cuttings, it was the previous property owner.
Okay?
All cuttings,
That's
100%, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I have a separate question. Tom, the mitigation plantings, is there a reason why they aren't all in the lawn that's closer to the deck, so that it's all closer to the resource area?
Well, at the time I was doing it, the deck hadn't really come up, and I thought he wanted a passageway along there. I think we could,
Oh, like to the deck?
but if
Yeah,
we could probably spread them out, put more down there. If you still, would you like a path down along that side?
there's just a walking path that makes it
We could put more down there and just leave a narrower pathway going down to that area, along the bottom of that bank.
Isn't
Yeah, I'm
there
just-
already a set of stairs going down to that area? Shown
Well,
on
it's
the plan?
directly straight down. There are some stairs
So why would
going.
you need another path down there?
Well, some people like to make like a circuit around rather than just the straight in and out. I mean, that's,
Like around the area? I mean, if, we usually like to see the mitigation plantings closer to the resource area where possible.
Once we remove the deck, we'll put a lot more plantings there.
Yeah, but that won't count for the mitigation plantings required for the additions. So I'm just thinking, is there a way that the mitigation plantings can be reconfigured to be closer to the resource area?
yeah, I mean, you could put a condition that the planting will be closer and leave only, say, a 4-foot wide path, along, sort of, not directly along the bottom of that bank, but in that general area. It'll be planted up to only 4 feet wide remaining of a path through there, which will get a lot more of the planting closer to the resource area.
But it goes back to my question, why would you want to have a path down there if you're removing the deck to have it all vegetated down that area? There's already a path that gets you down to the pond.
Well, I'll repeat my answer then also. It's like some people like a circuit to walk, like a loop around the property, rather than just,
Right,
go
but
down the
it's-
steps, then straight back up.
But it's on Peninsula Council property, not the
Right,
client's
but
property.
yes, you're right. It's Peninsula Council property, but I'm sure they allow homeowners to walk on that property. Maybe it would be up to the Peninsula Council if they would allow a path, allow walking through there, a footpath, across their property. I don't want to get into a point where we have to get a continuance talking about where mitigation is going to go.
Well, my other question is also too, in Drew's comments, you mentioned a waiver requirements, and that's not in the project narrative. So is that waiver from the commission's bylaws, or is that the zoning, or needs both?
No, it's, now that you mentioned
Is
zoning.
that some of the
This does have-
mitigation?
Yeah, this does have to go to zoning.
Right.
Proof of application, like the other two.
Right.
So the setback, and I apologize, let me preface everything I say that I had conversations with Tom since I wrote these comments.
Okay.
So some things, again, your call 100%, I'm just disclosing the conversation that took place between Tom and I in regards to my concerns and my comments that you have in front of you. So the deck is all new. That was something that was discussed just today, as far as, whether or not a conversation had been had with Peninsula Council. They were, okay with planting in that area if the deck was to be removed. All of that was talked about today after I made these comments. And then as far as the waiver, so it is within 50 feet on this area 2 of expansion, addition. But it's within the 50-foot setback from coastal bank, not BVW. Now, you could still submit a revised, it's a very minor modification to the project narrative to say we are seeking a waiver of the 50-foot setback to coastal bank. But as Tom had mentioned earlier, the type of coastal bank that this is a landform due to alterations. It's not functioning as a sediment source and minimal protection from a storm surge. So if there's a more meaningful 50-foot setback, it's from BVW. And if that's what you would deem to be the 50-foot setback of higher meaning, value, then this would be outside that 50-foot setback. So I'm just putting it out there, not telling you, recommending which way to go, but just clarifying the conversation. Because a lot of discussion happened today regarding those particular aspects, and I didn't have time to go and change my written recommendations.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just go back to what Alex said. I agree with her that, if we're taking out the deck and it's going to be planted by Peninsula Council, the mitigation planting should go all the way along there. Why allow another path to go through where something you're going to plant back in? It doesn't make sense to me, so I agree with that comment.
Right, and then you can still walk around the house and walk around the property above the plantings, but to have like a thicker buffer along the resource area.
Yeah.
If that were to be a condition to just fully plant it, I'm sure we'd go along with that.
Okay. I think that's what I'm hearing from the commission, and I agree. If there's an opportunity to use that area to beef up the buffer zone, which is kind of, robust in some areas and lacking in others, then it's a good location for relocation of mitigation.
Other questions from the commissioners? Charlie?
No questions.
Thank you. Anyone in the public that would like to question? Seeing none? Hearing none? I will call for motion.
So just to clarify, do we need any, anything with the council? Is like, what do you want us to say?
Yeah, I would just say, as what I would recommend as part of the motion is that discussion with conservation staff and Peninsula Council is to propose mitigation in this area of the deck, because that hasn't taken place yet. I think it's understood that it's not going to be an issue, but to have that actual conversation just hasn't taken place yet, so.
Okay, so compliance wouldn't be met until they could show that the deck is removed, replanted. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to close an issue for 205 Uncle Percy's Road, with the condition of an issuance pending an application to zoning, like proof of the application to zoning, that BSS works with the staff and the council for the removal of the deck and mitigation plantings, and that the mitigation plantings for the additions are moved closer to the resource area to create one contiguous buffer.
Yep.
I think I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Steve. So we have a motion?
Oh, and along with a revised plan be submitted for the mitigation plan
Yes.
location.
Yes, and a revised plan for the mitigation.
So we have a motion from Alex with several conditions that we can talk about in discussion, and you're seconding that motion, Steve, and adding the revised plan condition. Okay, I will open up that motion to a brief discussion amongst the commissioners, if there is one. All good with, I've got proof of the ZBA permit application, removal of the deck completely, mitigation closer to the resource area, once that deck is out of there, and the revised plan showing that the deck is removed and the mitigation area has been changed. Is that?
And just to clarify, the mitigation plantings for the additions do not count as replanting the areas that the deck is being removed from.
Correct. Yep.
Does not count for us?
It's separate.
They're two separate amounts of mitigation. The mitigation for the deck is its own thing. I don't want the mitigation for the additions.
It's not to be taken out of the proposed mitigation currently by the
They're-
plan. Yeah.
It stands on its own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, she also included the applicant to work with the Peninsula Council
Yeah.
And this,
and
And the
staff
staff
Yep.
for the removal of the deck.
to make sure that those hurdles have been cleared.
okay,
All right.
so we're good. Any other discussions? No? Tom, I'll let your question come.
Yeah, it was, could you, I didn't bring my file with me, but could you check, I thought we got a Form 2 back from the building department saying we don't need to go to the ZBA.
I have it on my agenda that it, let me, look for his. Oh, he didn't offer any comments, did he?
Oh, because it's not underland subject to coastal storm flowage,
It is not.
so it wouldn't need it.
But it might, yeah, 50 feet to
I
wetlands,
was kind of wondering.
part of it is.
Right.
50 foot,
It's not
coastal,
coastal,
it's
it's
50 foot from
Right.
coastal back, not BVW,
It's, yeah.
for a
it's-
zoning requirement.
It's just outside the 50 to the wetland. It's 50
Right,
to the,
but when the term wetland includes coastal bank.
they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
does, yep,
It does?
yeah. The circle does.
Okay, yeah, I did two at the same time, and I couldn't
Yeah.
remember which was which.
Yep.
Okay, good.
I have a second copy, if you'd like it for your records, for it to remind you.
And in the discussion, Tom, do you, can you foresee when you would be applying for that permit?
I'm not sure when, or do it quickly, I guess.
Okay, no further discussion. I will call for a motion, or I call for a vote. Votes. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
The COC's passed.
COCs, both the COCs passed,
Yep.
627 and 630. I will take us back to the updates, pre- and post-hearing agenda.
So I'm going to just jump to communication and correspondence, since we have Sandra Godfrey here tonight. Sandra is a Mashpee resident who has submitted letters of interest in joining the Conservation Commission as an associate member. And she's provided letters to you, Paul, as chairman, and also to the select board. So welcome to the meeting. Glad you were able to come tonight and see some various projects and get exposure to the commission. If you want to come up and just introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about your background and interest in the commission.
Good evening.
Good evening. I can see I have a lot to learn if I get accepted. I have been a resident of Mashpee since 1990, and I have been full-time since 2008. I'm a retired administrator from Harvard University, so if I was accepted to the commission, I'd bring 37 years of administrative experience. As part of my duties at Harvard, I conducted preliminary reviews of graduate student applications, and I followed guidelines and set procedures for that review. I also facilitated and organized meetings of faculty and administration, which I think would, meld well with this commission. I don't know if there's anything else you need to know.
Well, thank you. Thank you for stepping forward. As you can see, we can use all the help we can get. I noticed in your letter, you said that you had the time and energy to participate in site visits for proposed projects. So if she
Can we
gets
make that a condition?
If
of
she
my-
gets nominated, let's put
Well,
this
I'm a long-distance walker, so I've been walking all over Mashpee for 30-odd years, so site visits would be fine with me.
You like that?
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, I wholeheartedly support you coming on board, and
What did you say?
I said I wholeheartedly support having this woman come on
yay.
board. And I'll ask each commissioner, Brian?
Yes, thank you for your interest. Something that I have been asking all of the commissioners, I think, as they do join us, is if there's any perceived conflicts that we should know about.
No.
Thank you.
Steve?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Marjorie? Any,
Did you ask me?
yes, any questions or comments you'd like to make to Ms. Godfrey?
I just want to say how grateful I am as well.
Oh, thank you.
When we have people come forward to donate their time, volunteer their time, and have an interest in a particular issue, and I am the beneficiary of these kind people, allowing me to sit in your seat about a year ago. So yeah, I'm
Right.
excited. That's nice.
Alex?
Are you sure you still want to?
No, there's a lot to learn, but
Alex.
yeah.
Not the best meeting for her to sit at for the first one. That
That
was.
sign up there, exit, see?
I know, it feels
Yeah,
like
and
we didn't
imagine
even
what it
move
was.
anything forward.
No, I found the meeting was very interesting to
Great.
learn the
What Alex is
various
saying is
steps.
it's very exciting, and we, you really should join.
I know, I'm sorry. No, but really, it's like truly, I'm really grateful to have people like you stepping forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karen?
I will reiterate what they said. I thank you for coming forward and welcome. And support the vote.
Terrific. This is the first time as chair that I've had a person come forward to ask to be appointed. Just as a clarification, do I entertain a motion for the letter to go to the board of select board?
Yeah, for endorsement, yes, yeah.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion by some of our commissioners, one of our commissioners,
Oh,
To
I have it.
support
I
a
got
letter
so
of endorsement.
interested in what's before the commission. I'm sorry.
Support a letter of endorsement for Ms. Godfrey to become an associate member of our commission.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alex. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
When I came on, I was the only female. It's
Oh.
really nice that it's balancing out.
We may be taking over, 1, 2,
I
3.
used to watch her.
Never
on
made a
this-
female
oh,
agent.
God, look at her, she's so outnumbered.
Well, thank you for your
Yeah,
consideration.
thanks, sir.
Thank
We
you.
got a couple more items if you want to stick around.
Okay, sure.
We've got some other things to
I
discuss.
think we're going to have some additional topics here tonight, too. Sorry, Alex.
And that's okay.
What do we have to
I
do
told
with
Mike
these?
I'm out for a while, so.
So I'll run through the updates and then I will come back to Chad Smith and the CPA at the end, or if you want me to do that now. I just figured that would involve
Yeah,
some
let's get the
extended
updates out of the way, and then we can...
So, just quickly going through some updates, Red Brook Road Culvert Project, finally moving forward into the funding, getting funding secured for the planning and permitting stage. So we did meet with Horsley Witten Group, myself, Catherine Laurent, and representatives from the town of Falmouth, DPW, and agents. So each town has procured matching funds for the construction phase, not the planning and permitting stage, through their respective town meetings. Grant opportunities, there's a few of them out there. Division of Ecological Restoration, which funded the conceptual study that Neil came in and gave you all
Yep.
recently. They also have a culvert replacement grant round coming out now, so we're gonna see if we're eligible for that. And there's also funding available from the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs that also has criterion that this project meets, so our DPW Director, Catherine Laurent, is applying for both those permits with assistance from Falmouth, so we'll see how those pan out. But just so the commission is aware, we're moving forward with the next phase for Red Brook. And I know you heard a lot of concerns from a few of the residents at the last meeting when Rosie Witten gave their presentation. This, just to clarify, this culvert and the road is owned by the town, and the residents don't have any say as far as ownership of this area. And because it's a safety issue, first and foremost, that's why this is moving forward, despite the concerns of some of the residents about the water running freely through an open box culvert. So it's really a matter of public safety and road safety is why that's, but I wanted to give them the opportunity to voice their concerns and hear the whole project in its full scope from Neil, which I thought he did a really great job with. Ongoing data collection with Upper Quashnet, we should have some more updates soon, but nothing currently. Bylaw Review Subcommittee, so I have, Alex and Paul and I met most recently and to discuss a couple of different regulations. One is kind of like a fast track regulation, it's Regulation 5, and I've got copies here of the original language and the proposed language that I'll hand out to everybody. And at this stage, I think it just makes most sense for everybody to just kind of take a look at it, absorb it, read it through, and then we'll add it to the next few agendas until it gets to the point of promulgation. But we'll keep it on the agenda moving forward, and we'll be adding additional topics as well. So the two regs that we've been looking at, first and foremost, is Regulation 30, which deals with prevention of pollution, the effect of nutrient loading on water bodies, rivers, ponds, streams, estuaries, and/or the ocean, and impacts to public or private water supply. So this is a regulation that existed, was rescinded, reviewed again, and now we're looking to repromulgate it, but with amended language. The original language was a little bit kind of undefined, and it's still not 100% there yet. We're still working, looking to get opinions from Board of Health as to, this regulation, as you'll read, deals with a performance standard of not going, having more than 5 parts per million of nitrogen contributed to wetlands or wetland resource areas as a result of development on a given lot. 5 parts per million is not an achievable standard, even under the best technology. Maybe sewering might get close to that, but that's it. There's no septic system technology out there that's going to achieve that. And when you look at all the other inputs, such as stormwater, roof runoff, all of these different inputs of sources of nitrogen, you're never gonna achieve a 5 part per million, and that's one of the reasons why it was rescinded. It's not enforceable. But there is an associated nitrogen calculation sheet that goes along with this regulation, which I'll send out. I'll send out electronic versions to everybody of these. So we've been working on trying to get through what is more of a realistic, enforceable type of standard. And we're currently waiting to hear back from the Board of Health agent on his recommendation about parts per million range. Not a specific number, but a range that needs to be achieved. So that's kind of what the main thing that's not in here yet, but it's gonna involve further discussion. But what I'm gonna pass out to you are basically the existing language with notes reflecting what we've discussed, and then a clean revision up to this point. So this isn't the final version. There will be more added to it in future discussions, but this is where we've gotten so far. So I'm gonna pass these out to everyone.
And then you sent an email, was it to set up another meeting for that? I didn't actually read it yet. I started
No,
it
it's
and I meant to
just, it
come
was
back.
just letting you know that I had passed this on to Zachary, the health agent.
Oh, okay. There's a special place in heaven for taking on that task of the language
Bylaws.
and bylaws. Yeah,
So
I know.
painful, but someone's gotta do it.
It's just a necessary evil.
And the second regulation,
2 things, right?
yeah, you've got existing language and proposed.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep. So the second regulation, and this is one that I thought would just bring it up because it's very fast and easy to do. Maybe not easy, but fast. So we haven't revised our fee schedule since, it's been 11 years almost, that we haven't changed the permit fees. So Regulation 5 deals with the permit bylaw fee schedule, and it's got all the different categories that we currently have. We have administrative review, and each one of these categories also has an after-the-fact charge fee, which is double what the regular fee is. So you've got administrative review, a reissuance of order of conditions, certificate of compliance, and extension permits, revised plans due to missing information per Regulation 3A, request for determination of applicability, business, commercial, or industrial projects, certificates of compliance, first, second, and third inspections. So if I go out to do a COC inspection, something's wrong, I gotta go back, work with the applicant, go back out there a second time, there's a second fee for that, and if it gets to a third, there's a third fee for that. And it has gotten to all 3 of those in the past in certain situations, so it's not common, but it happens. Amended order of conditions, continuances, so this is when we discuss the continuances. We've never charged a continuance fee, because there's so many different variables and reasons for continuances. Some of them are born out of your own comments for a continuance.
And
so they weren't
because Paul and I have been looking at this, I think that's why tonight we were like, well, why are we continuing? Because the continuance fee, and we've been talking about this, and it's like, well, we've had so many continuances come before us. Why?
Yeah.
So, just sorry.
Yeah, no, by all means, feel free to interrupt me. No, I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, I have a tendency to roll on, so. No, I don't. I didn't mean it to sound like that.
It's only 8:30.
That's right. So I propose to eliminate that category because we just never have instituted it. And I don't think it's something that, it just seems like a money grab more than a legitimate fee category. Then you've got the extension permits, re-advertising of hearing notices, and then you got all the different categories of notice of intent. So these were, increased moderately, some anywhere from $50 to $75 increases, and then doubled as after-the-fact fees. But look them over, so you've got the current fees with the notations, what was discussed, and then on the second page, the clean revisions with the proposed fees. So I'm hoping that this can get scoped out to the public. Do you have a copy of this?
Yeah.
Okay. At the next meeting, and then promulgated after that, if time allows. This one's pretty straightforward. I think that we can get expedited. But take a look at it. If you have any concerns, we can put it on. We'll put it on the next agenda for discussion.
Drew, is there a limit to a number of times they can continue? I should, I'm sure, but.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought it was
3 in the absence of like absolute emergency situation scenario at all. It's always your discretion as far as how many continuance. We've had hearings like Dick Cook's aquaculture farm before you guys were on board with the commission that took over a period of 4 years.
Holy.
So, but the continuances happened once every 5-6 months, so it was because they just, yeah, it was a nightmare. But yeah, just to give you an extreme example there. Did you guys want to add anything else in terms of what we discussed with these regulations? Before I move on to
I don't think so. You haven't heard from the new health agent?
Not yet.
Feedback yet on 30?
Not yet. I should hear something by tomorrow. We're having our roundtable Friday morning meeting, so by then I should have something in place. And yeah, I really want to get that promulgated and get that going as soon as possible.
What's your timetable, Drew, on when you want to have everything approved?
Ideally, I think hopefully by the end of February, or at the
Oh,
absolute
great.
latest, first meeting in March. But yeah, before the end of February, I think is a
Soon.
reasonable
Good.
timeline for promulgation and public comment,
Yep.
and then promulgation. But you never know with public comment if that's gonna result in some changes, so it's kinda, could, subject to change there, that timeline. All right, Johns Pond and Santuit Pond, milfoil. So we did receive the last report on Johns Pond. Everything looks good, but the likelihood of milfoil returning is always there, so we're gonna have some extended monitoring just once a year prior to the summer season to just keep tabs on Johns Pond, but overall, it's been a successful eradication of milfoil from Johns Pond. So we moved on to Santuit. Ashley Fisher and I met with Joe Onorato from Water and Wetlands LLC to discuss treatment on Santuit. And we feel that he gave us the kind of breakdown of what he would feel the Water and Wetlands felt was the best approach. It's an aquatic herbicide, once again, that's very target specific, and there's a couple of different species on Santuit. There's variable leaf milfoil, which is the same as on Johns Pond, and then you've got bladderwort, and each one, there's different herbicides that work effectively on each. The contractor did, and I'll send you all this correspondence that he just sent by email today on his breakdown of what he proposes for Santuit. They've already gone and done a survey, so they know what the areas of infestation are, and then what the cost estimates are, so you guys can take a look at that. We don't have enough money right now based on the estimates for that he provided for Santuit, but it is something that we could request in a future town meeting, at least get the process started with the funding that I requested at the last town meeting for both Johns Pond and Santuit, which was roughly around $38,000. But this is gonna get over $100,000 for Santuit, possibly. But I'll send out the literature to everybody so you can take a look at that. And we'll keep this obviously on the agenda for future discussion. Choptic Bog, I wish I had some more positive news here, but we encountered a potential roadblock, unfortunately. And it may work itself out, I hope it does. So, and I'll try to be quick about this, but basically the current phase is we're going through what's called an ENF review, or environmental notification form, which is Horsey Witness filled out, submitted the paperwork to various state agencies, DEP, Natural Heritage, Fish and Wildlife, and the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. DEP has come back with their comments, which were the last ones we were waiting on. And once the ENF process goes through, then it goes to local permitting, you guys. And then the final permitting step is a water quality certification with DEP, and then the Army Corps of Engineers because of the connection to Santuit Pond. So it's Army Corps jurisdiction as well. Then after that, construction can start. So DEP, in their decision, their comments, they deemed, if anyone is, I don't have an image, but you recall what the Choptic Bogs look like. Obviously, they're very close to the shoreline of Santuit Pond. It's been the contention, based on analysis and study of the bog and the depth of peat, that this, back when it was, before it was a cranberry bog and when it was a natural wetland, that it was what's categorized as an isolated vegetated wetland. It was never connected to the pond historically before the bog. When you look at it from a satellite image, you're like, oh, that's so close to the pond, it had to have been connected. But based on the peat levels and the absence of any peat in that berm area, which separates the pond from the bog, based on the data that's been collected, you would really have no other choice but to delineate this as an isolated wetland and not one that was historically connected to the pond. Is it connected now? Yes, because of flooding of cranberries, so there's an artificial connection. Horsley Witten is maintaining that has always been an artificial connection, and previous to that, it was isolated. Well, DEP disagrees. They're calling that center ditch that runs down the center line through both bogs a stream. And what that means is if you're categorizing a resource area as a stream, which means there's some form of flow, and obviously, yes, it's artificially connected currently to the pond with boards, so there's no actual flow, that all of the vegetation around there is bordering vegetated wetlands. And bordering vegetated wetland, as you know, carries much higher standards than isolated vegetated wetland in terms of how much you can excavate, alter, even if it's in the interest of an environmental restoration project. The standards are extremely higher than isolated vegetated wetland. And as such, if that's what they're gonna maintain and that's going to be the resource area determination moving forward, it's going to nearly double the budget. We only have a set amount of money for this project, and we're gonna have to scramble to find more money to cover this additional expense so that Horsley Witten can go out and possibly revise the entire scope of this project due to this reclassification of wetland. So we mobilized all, people that can help to kind of overturn this, convince DEP that this is isolated vegetated wetland. Please look at this as a good thing and try not to complicate things moving forward and make things more expensive or prohibitive. We're all trying to do the right thing in terms of restoring a bog to wetland. And we'd all like to move forward, and we only have a very strict budget to do so. And this just throws a huge wrench into all of that. So it's kind of a wait-and-see approach at this point. We're hoping we can just continue to move forward, and by the time it gets to the Concom, it can be deliberated then. But we just want to keep the steps going and not waste too much time with this. It's a disappointment, but it's nothing that's finalized yet, thankfully.
Is there a process for reconsideration?
Yeah, we're going through that now as fast as we can. Because this whole thing is based on contract language and timelines, and you've got
I know.
deliverable dates.
You could die
And this
before
could
it
just obliterate all of that and really set things back a lot. And also, in the meantime, the bog will continue to successional growth, and it'll become more expensive to clear the bog. So everything just goes up, even if it's like a month or two delay, the costs just go up. So in order to avoid that, we're really looking to try and get this clarified and hopefully overturned moving forward. So, does anyone have any questions on that? I wish I had better news there, but it's frustrating. Local comprehensive plan, I know that Evan's wrapping up. He has that final survey put out through a lot of social media channels, and I think he's gotten good numbers back, so that should be wrapping itself up fairly soon. Land acquisition subcommittee, so I just wanted to kind of get a reminder on who had volunteered to serve on that committee, and then we can get moving with some dates. And I'm gonna put Dan, our assistant agent, in charge of that, to start scheduling meetings and start discussion on various lands that, identified for possible acquisition.
I think, Alex, you had put your name forward for that, right?
100%.
I did as well.
And Aaron?
Okay, Alex and Aaron?
How many names do you need?
Tom was the other one.
I don't think there's a minimum or maximum.
Anyone
But,
else?
was there anyone else who was interested in serving on that?
Charlie looks like he might be.
Charlie, you have interest in serving on a land acquisition subcommittee?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Appreciate your effort.
Okay.
We might, that might be one that we can do on Zoom
Yeah,
to then be able to look at maps together
Yeah.
on the computer. It might be easier.
absolutely.
I mean, maybe there might be an associate member too
Sure.
that might be interested.
Sure,
to
how often
join.
do
Yeah.
how often do they meet?
I don't know.
It would probably be once a month
Yeah.
at most, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe less than that. It'd probably just be fluid as far as, because you don't know how many opportunities are coming in for land acquisition. They vary.
Right.
In terms
It
of how
needs to be at
frequently
least
we meet.
once a month.
But
Okay, sure.
we start out at
Yeah,
once a
can
month.
help out.
Yeah?
Great.
Okay. All right. If not, we're gonna have to take the hat back.
You can do that.
I like these hats. Yeah.
So I haven't received any response yet to the RFP for getting a survey plan done for the Eversource easement requirement, which still is a head scratcher as far as a requirement for the switchback trail for the mountain bike club. Still working on that. Guided nature tours have been posted for January. The 2023 schedule is on the website. And we have, I'll send this out to the commissioners as well, to all of you. USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, has been really great in helping myself in my position as herring warden and the tribe in figuring out what sort of amendments we can do to the Mashpee herring run, the fish ladder structure, to prevent any future mortality of great blue herons mostly, but other types of herons and even osprey. The ladder right now, as it's designed, for whatever reason, is causing herring to back up in large schools, if you will, in these pools. That's attracting these birds in higher numbers. And because it's such a confined area with a high velocity of flow, you get all these birds in one area. They're highly territorial. There's infighting, and this is kind of a theory. It's not what we believe, as anyone's arrived at a consensus is the main reason for mortality. But it seems like the most likely, that they're infighting. Some birds get knocked into the channel, and then they just get swept by the current. There's no getting out anymore once that happens. So making these modifications will help to alleviate that situation, and I'll send you all the details, and it won't interfere with the tribe's ability to harvest herring as well. So we're working with Jason Steiding to make sure that any amendments to the ladder aren't going to interfere with tribal harvesting of herring. But USGS has been doing all of this without any, cost or anything, so it's really great that they stepped in and are helping us figure out a solution.
Wait, I have a question. Do subcommittees need to be made up of only Concom members? Can people from not on Concom be
That's a good
part
question.
of it?
I'd have to ask. I don't know the answer to that.
Because I'm just thinking there might be some other, specialists that might be able to help us that are tribe
sure.
members or whoever.
I think you could bring somebody into the meeting, but I don't know as far as like a permanent member ongoing, like membership status or.
Because it would be good to have tribal representation.
I would
If we're
agree.
talking about land for conservation and looking at, I don't know if you agree. Sorry, I don't mean to just put it all on you. But just thinking if,
No, I think
in general, we
I would
should-
just want to check on it. I don't know the answer, but
Okay.
it's a good question, and I'll certainly find out. Last item is, so Chad Smith has officially requested to be no longer serving as liaison to the Commission on the Community Preservation Act. He still wants to stay on as an associate commissioner. He just doesn't have time for this liaison role on the CPA. So we do need somebody to step up to replace Chad as a liaison on the Community Preservation Act Committee.
What does that involve, Drew?
So they have, I don't know what their meetings, I know they're meeting more often than they have historically. They used to meet only like twice a year, and now they're meeting, I think, at least every other month or something.
The new chair has expressed an interest to have an ongoing regular meeting so that everybody is expected and they know that it's coming rather than just calling
Right.
it when an application comes.
Yeah, so it was infrequent and broken up, and
Yeah.
now it's gonna be a set schedule. I don't know what the frequency of it is. I think it's still relatively infrequent as far as not like every 2 weeks like us.
Right, yeah.
Is
I'd
this,
be interested if it was.
is this position something that you are a member of the CPC and serve as a liaison, or you just go and advise them as a liaison?
Well, you would be a member.
You'd be a voting member.
Yeah.
Most of the
exactly.
boards have members.
Yeah.
I'm willing to put my name forward to replace Chad if
Okay.
the
Erin has
commission's.
expressed interest as
Oh.
well.
I think if you'd like to do it, I think that would be better. Yeah.
I didn't know that you had expressed
No,
interest in
that's all
doing
right.
it.
That's fine. I don't need to take on more stuff. It's my instinct to be like, sure, but that's probably a bad idea.
I've been to a few of the meetings. We were there together.
Yeah.
And I think I could do a pretty good job representing the interests of the commission.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Would you need a motion?
I don't know how that.
Should I do
Yeah,
a
probably
motion?
be good to have a motion.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. Chad Smith as the liaison to the CPA committee and appoint Mr. Paul Colombo as the new representative from the Conservation Commission to the CPA committee.
Is there a second? Alex, any discussion on that motion?
Are there bumper stickers involved?
I can start
Get me
making.
swag.
I don't know, I sort of like the idea of getting all that.
Thanks. No
So we need
discussion.
a second, did somebody second it yet?
Yeah, Alex,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, sorry.
No further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes,
Alex?
Yes.
And I think I should probably abstain rather than vote for myself.
I think you should, no, you should vote for yourself.
No, there's enough votes, motion carries.
And you should give an acceptance speech.
I'll have to work
Haven't you
on
been
that.
watching CNN?
I'll do it at the first meeting that I attend. I know I had heard from one commissioner tonight to look at our agenda item for additional topics. And as it says, this is a space that's reserved for topics that the chairman did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. So, Marjorie, I would defer to you in what I had heard from you.
So under the heading of brevity, but importance, I was hoping that the process for discussing the New York Times recent article focusing on Mashpee and our water problems should be something that that this commission should take a look at and have a moment on the agenda so that we comply with the open meeting law and public can comment if they so wish. But it's such a, I don't know about everybody else, but even as a new commissioner, I received so many calls and emails. And they were all from really good people. You know, they didn't all agree on everything, certainly. But it's not a, and I know you all agree, I think you all agree on this, it's just not something that Mashpee wants to have out there as the first thing that comes up when you Google Mashpee. You don't want to see the New York Times article be the first thing that you read, number one. And number two, it's horrifying. Too few people know about it. So to support the kinds of projects we're going to need their support on, that may have to go to the board, right? Or it may have to go to the legislature, may have to go to our congressional delegation. There's just so much in there. And I think we should be leading the charge in a more cohesive way. I know individually, everybody has an interest and a passion. Or we wouldn't be sitting here, would we? So, but I was embarrassed to have to tell quite a few residents, no, we haven't discussed that article yet because it just came out. But, well, will you be? And I said, well, you know, I think it's something I'll bring up to my colleagues and see if we can put it on a future agenda, to actually put it on the floor for discussion around this table.
I read the article actually before it was in the newspaper itself. It came out New Year's Day online.
Yeah.
And somebody alerted me to it immediately. I read it. The only two inaccuracies in that article was that we do not have a main street or a historical district.
I was thinking it too.
Everything else in that article was spot on, and it
Even
was like,
Ashley's hands, I have nightmares about Ashley's
off.
hands. And I'm sorry,
It-
Paul, I
it was-
interrupted you.
it was stomach turning is what it was. And since the Times has carried it, it's been picked up by Seattle Times, Yahoo News, it's everywhere, everywhere. And I agree. I know the Select Board has an ongoing agenda item called water quality. Maybe we should mirror that. Maybe we should add to our agendas a water quality agenda category. And whether it's something that comes up that's immediate, or whether it's just a general discussion about where we are and where we need to go. And there was a lengthy discussion about that from townspeople on Monday night at the Select Board.
I saw that on YouTube.
People got up and got up and got up.
Yeah.
And then a Select Board member made a statement, a call to leadership about it, with action steps, accountable action steps, with timelines. So it's being addressed, and
Oh,
for us not to, you're right, it would be unresponsive, if not
Very.
irresponsible. So I agree, I think we should, and as chairman, when the next agenda is being formulated, I will ask for that to go on. I'll require it to go on. That's my call as chair.
That would be great.
And we'll just keep it going.
One other thing I would just add, that's a benefit to all of us is that ongoing things that are being done in so many commissions and so many subcommittees and so many different activist groups. I'm a former member of the legislature, and I get invited to every possible nonprofit that's organized around conservation, water, whatever. They all don't always, or rarely, know what the other hand is doing.
Right.
And so if we, as the leaders, I mean, is that not the heart and soul of the mission of the Conservation Commission, right? Can bring it to a place that this might be the beginning of, and that
Right,
this
like
sort of,
have committees come and like talk to us about
yeah,
what we're doing.
and have them get to know all the other things that are happening.
Yeah.
The exponential value of groups working together, and you all know this, is so much greater than brilliant
Silos.
people working in silos. And then you find out that Harry Smith has been doing the same thing for 3, and I got a call today from Shanghai, probably from someone who you probably all know, but, you know, former.
Oh, I do know.
Yeah, former resident. And I said, well, holy crap, yeah, but to your point of it, you know, it shows up and it's in Seattle and, you know,
Yeah.
all my little chickadees that were interns at the State House are saying, what are you doing in Nashville? You know, things have not gotten better, Mike.
It's not the reputation you want to have.
It's not, anyway.
And we truly are in crisis. I mean, everybody at this table knows it. We're out there in the field, we look at it, we see it, we smell it. It's a mess. And it is time now, not down the road. It's time
And I
now.
would be really
Yeah.
curious if we can say no fertilizing your lawn, like period. And I just said lawn.
That's
I
part
wasn't
of it.
saying like you can't fertilize new
Right.
growth like plants if you're planting the mitigation plantings that need to help along. But yeah, the lawn and the fertilizer, we gotta
And
do
getting a
something
general
about that.
consensus, you're
You
right.
don't have to reinvent the wheel. The town of Orleans has a no
Yeah.
fertilizer.
Yeah.
bylaw. None, zero. There's few agricultural exceptions, but it's pretty strict. And I believe they even forbid stores in the town of Orleans to sell lawn fertilizer. I don't think
That's
you
how
can
it
buy
should
it
be.
there. So we can
Like the
start
bottle
looking at
bill,
it.
if you do it.
I just if I could say, if you're gonna get into an extended discussion on a particular topic,
Yeah.
it's not on the agenda. I mean, you opened it up with discussion on the New York Times article, but this is something I'm kind of looking to
Sorry.
avoid. It's
My
getting
fault.
into a more detailed discussion without
Let's put
posting
it on the
that.
agenda and have a
Yeah.
more detailed discussion.
Yeah.
I have,
I promised Drew I wouldn't do.
I have two small things that I would like, because they were not anticipated. I was out today on site visits, and I was looking at 112 Waterway. And as I went by 44 Waterway, I stopped to look at that because it's a previous job that we've worked on. It's been conditioned.
I was there for that.
I walked the entire perimeter of it, and there's a fairly large area as you're standing on the street looking at that lot to the right-hand side where the straw wattle was just thrown back over to the abutter's property, and all of the silt barrier fencing is down. And I kind of looked at it and thought, well, that's not the way it should be.
Nope.
And then as I went to get back into the car, the Cape and Islands engineering sign was just flat on the ground. It was just, you know, looked like an election sign that somebody just tipped over. So I picked that up and I put it up against the pole where it should be. But I noticed that there's no DEP sign anywhere on the property. And that's one of our boilerplate conditions.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, if
don't
you see
know
that,
who's
give us a
is that-
call right away and we'll go out there.
Yeah, I
and
saw
meet
it today, actually. I was down there. So I wanted to bring it up under
If
attention.
anyone sees that, call us right away. We'll go out and stop the work immediately.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
I have
Yeah.
There was a guy there that was, you know, he had the excavator and he was doing some maintenance on it. And I told him who I was and he says, oh, by all means, you can walk around. I
It
knew he
does
wasn't
happen. I mean,
wrong.
particularly the DEP sign, they always put it up somewhere where construction just obliterates it. And I always make it a point, I have made it a point that when you put up the DEP sign, make sure it's out of the construction zone, but still visible from the road. And it just, you get different crews in there, different guys every day, and just stuff like this happens.
They're
But
just
if
not
you see
there.
it, give us a call, because we will drop everything and go out.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So I'm just trying to prevent like a neighbor saying, did that ever get approved? What's going on?
Right,
Mhm,
no, because, yeah, it needs to be addressed right away when that
Mr.
happens.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we reorganize, or does that have to be on the agenda?
Has to be on the agenda.
Yeah, we have to vote on that, so.
Don't break rules.
I know.
So that'll be on next
Yeah.
meeting's
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
We would probably want to have a full commission here.
Yeah, I won't be here next meeting.
Reorganize, and I know Alex isn't going to be here.
What's the
but,
date? The
um,
next meeting?
The next meeting would be the
6th. Yeah, I'm out of town.
I'll be
Can we just place it on the agenda?
Yeah.
And then
And
we
then,
can just leave it as a rolling item,
Yeah.
something?
sure.
Good idea.
And then can we also prioritize the agenda? I think that sometimes we have the hearings and then we have the discussions.
Yeah.
But if there's not really a lot of updates or something, or to Marge's point about that article, if that's gonna, give us a lot more time, if we do have people that come in and participate, I don't know if that's a good idea to call a separate meeting outside of our schedules, or what we should I think that's something like we should talk about maybe.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of work ahead of us, and then sometimes the hearings can go past the times that they're supposed
Go
to.
to
or
9
whatever.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Right.
I know, it's painful.
One last quick thing. I attended the ZBA hearing last night. I was interested in watching the procedure on 49 Clover Lane, which is a project that we had, but is identical to 338 Monomoskoye and 228 Waiting Place Road in terms of the land court decision. So I wanted to, and I did make public comment as a resident, but they all know who I am. And I did say I'm also the chair of the Conservation Commission, but I'm not representing the Conservation Commission. So if you watch that or hear something of it, that was me. And I was discussing their purview versus ours, and how the interests of land subject to coastal flow is important. We have Regulation 25, and our language is different than theirs, but I was just, well, I won't comment on it. You should watch it, though.
Just one last item before we end the session. This was also in your packets. This is the online session about online permitting. That I think if you're available, you should attend
That's in
this
our packet?
training. It's in your packet, yeah.
Pre-post.
Yeah, pre-post agenda items. January 25th, 2023, from 3 to 4:30. We got notification from the Cape Cod Network of Conservation Agents about this training. It's free, and it's a good experience. if
Did you
anyone-
email that to us too?
I think Deanne might have.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I
But you
think
have
that's
this
already-
flyer in your packets.
Okay.
I'll have this.
I feel
so.
like I don't.
I didn't either.
I
I
don't.
thought it was emailed. I remember seeing something about it.
Yeah.
I
You
saw
have
it on
any
email,
issues?
It wasn't in the initial email blast, it was in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to miss those things. They are good. They
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, very educational, so.
Yeah.
No, that's it, that's all I got.
That's it?
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we have a new liaison? Because I know that former Selectman
yeah.
Gottlieb was the liaison. So
Yes.
think it's
when Michaela took over, did
John
she?
Cotton is the liaison to conservation.
Yeah, he was
No,
here
wait a
earlier.
second.
No, it's not John
It's,
Cotton,
it's David
it's
Weed.
David.
David Whedon?
But John Cotton was here earlier tonight.
He was.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
I just
David
wanted to
is the
know.
new liaison.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep, yes.
Wait, there is one more item. Thank you. You gave us these great hats. They're from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Got the new
These are
seal on it and everything.
Yeah.
so.
I know, you're so cool.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I was gonna say, before you
I'll
run,
second
somebody
that.
make a
Wait, don't
motion.
All in favor?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Brian. No discussion on that, I anticipate. Okay, Brian?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Charlie is logged off, or is he? He's logged off. I vote yes as well.
Leave the picture here of that delightful little.
Thank you, Ms.
backyard.
Godfrey, for